Oh, that button doesn't work. Hang on. Where is it? There we go. That button barely worked either as well. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in, everyone. Let me get audio go. Audio was playing earlier. Why is it stopped? Let me just... I don't know. Everything has been very cursed in me trying to get this going live. Like literally every part of it has been cursed. Ooh, I'm peeking a little. Hold on. Let me dip that. So I updated OBS, and that's really where everything went wrong. There we go. That should be a bit better. So I updated OBS, and OBS was like, "Hey, we've added a load of new shit." And I was like, "That's actually the new audio thing. Pretty cool. I kind of like it. The updated audio mixer, very nice. However, every time, for the first 5 times I tried to go live, it just crashed with an NVIDIA error. And that was after updating the drivers, so I have no idea what was going on. Anyway, welcome in, everyone. I'm doing some D&D prep for my paid game. First of all, and then that's only going to take a few minutes, and then we'll move on to just nattering about things and such. So, I mean, first of all, I will show you how I prepare for a session of D&D, because I think a lot of people don't understand that D&D is a lot easier to prep for than you might think. I would say if you're designing a dungeon, that you've got to do a fair chunk of work for. But to actually just prep a session, if you've got a situation, your players are acting and things like that, and it's going to last for a few sessions, it's pretty easy actually. So I follow this thing. I go, what is stuff that needs to be brought forward from the last session or from previous sessions? What is stuff that is happening right now? Like, the stuff I know is how we're starting the session. Like, these events are happening no matter what because of the previous, actions of the players. And then what's stuff that might happen in the future that we've got to worry about, okay? So this is my document from last session, and I just update the document every time. So last time, a little plot synopsis is that they've arrived at a big city to kill a wizard. The wizard in Altrare can see the future, and so is very hard to kill. Turns out he's a charlatan. He's actually a bard. A high-level bard, though, using magical secrets to cast wizard spells nonetheless, and is basically conning everyone into liking him. He's pretending that he's seeing the future and using those pretend portents to take out political enemies and things like that by saying that person's going to betray the world and things like that. So the party are here to kill that wizard. Problem is, the wizard actually can see the future a little bit, which makes things very difficult, but is also very good at scrying magic and things like that. So has been watching the party, knows how they act, and basically means I can be as meta as I want to be, and I've got a good excuse. So last time they had an encounter with the wizard in an inn. It went badly wrong. It went badly wrong. And yeah, there was a lot of high-level spells being thrown around. So we can cut all of this for previously, or immediately, because this is all happened. So, do I need to update previously? The party is staying at the Harp and Harpy. No longer the case. They have had to flee the Harp and Harpy. The party have fled the Harp and Harpy. Welcome in Nikki as well. Welcome in Catbat. Welcome in Keith. Welcome in Neogis. Welcome in Hugs, and welcome in anyone I've missed, and also the Lurkers. Icky says, step 1, roll a d4. Step 2, add that many terras to the dungeon. Step 3, demand payment. That's how I do it, yeah. So the party have fled the Harp and Harpy, and are laying low in a morgue. I'm going to keep this line. They had arrived as a circus band, Pip the Spectacular and the Dragon Slayers. They did not arrive quietly. I can get rid of because they are now trying to lay low. They're laying low in a morgue. This is the morgue of the cleric. Shit, what's my go-to cleric name? In the more belonging to cleric. Why can't I ever remember her fucking name? No, it's not Shay. What's the cleric I always use, Keith? She's really fucking strong and is always snacking. That's who I used. Oh god, I can't remember why am I blanking on her name? And I checked, I have not written it down for some reason. I presumably I assumed I would always remember it, apart from to this one day where I'm immediately forgetting it. I'll just put name and fill in the blanks later. Let's not use that because that breaks the markdown. Let's just do name. I'll go and find it in my notes. So two of the players, Rowan and Owen, so these are actually their player characters, have made a deal with Inaltrari to offer truce while they gain information. That's gone. Truce over. Inaltrari is still happy to offer a truce, but now sees his current animosity to the party as teaching them a lesson in respect. Truce over with Inaltrari. Now Morg is my best friend. Yeah, it's funny that they ended up in a morgue. It's pretty close to Morgan. So these are research projects being done at the Bastion. We will actually cut these down a day because they spent a whole day in the last session. 4 days left. 22 days left. 6 days left. 11 days of rehearsal left on the production, which is going to be tricky to run. And this is just a general project that they're doing. The group have joined the Dockworks Union, and the party-robed Felix has become the union leader. This is, I mean, that's still technically the case, but it might be tricky to actually do. Immediately, sure I could find something to name Iris. Yeah, I'm sure I could name someone Iris. Okay, immediately, it's the fucking Running Man. Inaltrari has distributed flyers overnight claiming the party are terrorists who seek to destroy the city. So they are now being hunted. I can't guarantee I can name everything after you lot, alright? There's only a certain number of names coming into this session. But if I can throw in some names, I'll throw in some names. So yeah, it's the fucking Running Man at the moment. So what they want to do is Owen needs to pick up his armor. So Owen is the fighter, and he has ordered a set of anti-magic plate armor from a goblin fashionista named Raynar Bogcleave. And that was meant to arrive at the tavern this morning. So we're picking up in the morning after a long rest. It is arriving now, but the tavern, they've had to flee the tavern. So they've got to go back. And so we're thinking it's probably a stealth mission. Owen needs to pick up his armor. So what I need to prep for that is I need some foes. I need some challenges. I need also to remember that the armor has nipples. Which is, yeah. Iris says, my small dwarven son has come so far, framing people as terrorists. Yeah, I started with, like, the class build of Inaltrari and went, how can I make a villain out of this? And I went, well, what if he's a con man? What if he's a con man? So, yeah. Owen needs to pick up his armor. The armor has nipples. So, foes, we've got street thugs. Street thugs and vigilantes. Easy enough. An interesting challenge is civilians. You know, we got spotters. We've got people who are otherwise innocent and genuinely believe they're doing good work apprehending the party. Because we have several moral party members with a strict moral code who will be deeply upset if they have to kill civilians. So they will therefore be forced to work around that, right? So, I think civilians are really the only challenge we need here. Spotters... Do I want this session to just be about the people? Do I want to include a bit of magic in it as well? Because Inotari is not going to be doing nothing right now. But I think I want Inotari's magic to be a bit more stagey, a bit more bardic. So what we're going to have is Inotari has hired or has utilized wizard interns, essentially, to cast Minor Illusion. How long's Minor Illusion last? Hold on. Hold on. Minor Illusion. Minor Illusion. Duration 1 minute. That's going to be a problem. All right, what we got? Major Image. 10 minutes. Okay. Programmed Illusion. Until Dispelled. That's level 6. That's tricky. Okay, he's going to use Programmed Illusion. Wizard interns are not going to be using Programmed Illusion. Back to Obsidian. So, Inotari has cast Programmed Illusion in a prominent place, acting like a TV screen, showing essentially most wanted / bounty posters, right? And they move, of course. We look like big red screens with like black and white images of the party on there. And like wanted, like just showing up, okay? Yeah, wizard interns with level 6 spells is not happening. Yeah, they have a place to short rest at the moment. Oh, that's the first thing. That's the first thing that's going to happen. The cleric will come in for work and find 5 fugitives in her morgue. Iris, can you remember the name of the cleric I always use? I'm blanking on it today. You know, the big hench one who likes snacking. I'm just absolutely blanking on it. I'm not going to prevent them from resting. They are pretty good at not resting. They're pretty good at doing like a lot in a day, so I don't really have to force the issue at all. So I'm not too worried about their resting cadence. But, you know, it'll be there as a sort of, I suppose, a way to add a bit of tension, right? So we'll have this conversation. This is probably a 30-minute conversation already. So she's going to be torn between doing what is right and helping her friends, or doing what she thinks is right. It's the fucking Running Man. You know, yep. So we'll need some street thugs and vigilantes. Big hench cleric who likes snacking. Sounds like a nice person. Yeah, she's pretty cool. Hopefully a death cleric. I think she's a life cleric. Which is silly, but there we go. So street thugs and vigilantes. The tricky thing about doing street thugs and vigilantes is that this is a 10th level party. So actually putting together an encounter for a 10th level party that is satisfying is complex. So, I also don't know how many people are, whether they're going to split the party for this. So one option is that they go just 2 players. And so that would be the rogue and the fighter. which means we get a much lower budget, which does make it a little easier to make this make sense. The other option is they all go, which would they might. They're not against splitting the party. But yeah. Hey, Mr. Blue, welcome in. D&D Unearthed Arcana, as of a few minutes ago, has just introduced the Pestilence Cleric. Wonderful. We'll take a look at that in a minute and have a read through. Hey, Bree, good evening. Yeah, once I'm done with this prep. So I think what I need is a combat encounter that can happen in the streets if their stealth goes wrong, a combat encounter that can happen at the tavern should they get spotted, and I'm thinking I can probably put a bit of magic down in the tavern to make it more likely that they're spotted. I don't think, for some reason, they don't consider that they are being magically watched, despite the fact that I have said several times that they are being magically watched, that they just don't consider it, which, I mean, I'm fine of. I'm absolutely fine with that because, they keep just forgetting, and I could do whatever I want. Blue Lantern revealing is a good idea, but I don't want to use it just because the ranger actually already has one. Used it to great effect last session, actually, because I sent invisible stalkers against them, and so ranger brought out the lantern revealing and everything was fine. But let's start with Street Fox and Vigilantes. I need 2 combat encounters, 1 for 2 players, 1 for 5. All right. We've got an encounter budget. I'm going to say that the first fight should be a medium and the last fight should be a hard. So they can potentially skip the medium by doing really good stealth. And then the last one, they're going to have to do some good knowledge checks. They're going to have to know their arcana. They're going to know, they've got to spell magic. They've got options that they can use to get rid of the magic that is watching them. They just keep forgetting to do it. So we'll save that as a high difficulty encounter, because that's sort of the climactic bit where the fighter will potentially even have on the anti-magic armor at that point. Technically, it requires attunement and shit like that. I'm gonna waive that a little bit. I like waiving attunement in cases when, or waiving the attunement process in cases where things have been pre-made and tailored to a person. Hitting groups early on with a hard fight is always good as well. Makes them flinch, yeah. No, it's not bad at all to do that. Absolutely not bad at all. Are the nipples what makes it anti-magic? No, they're just for show. It's fully the, what was it, Batman Forever that had the nipples? Yeah. I suppose I could hit hard first. They've been through a real nightmare scenario of combat lately. I'm going to give them something a little easier. I'm going to ease it up a bit. I'm going to ease it up. Yes, it is indeed Raynar Bogcleave. And the best part is, it is once again the character who would least appreciate it, which I just think is great. So let's find some bandits. So I'm going to want a minimum challenge rating of probably 2. Because anything less than that is really just going to be chaff for 10th level. And we want some humanoids, I suppose. Okay. So, move over to Zen. There we go. So here's the bestiary. Sort by challenge rating. Oh, there we go. CR20, that'll do. No, we want something a bit lower, bit lower. Okay, Bandit Crime Lord's not a bad shout. Pistols, scimitars, deadly aim. That's pretty good. We can work with this. We can work with a Bandit Crime Lord, I think. Could throw that in. The Warrior Command is very funny. That could work as a sort of big thug. Bandit Crime Lord is also pretty good. He's also more of like a rogue. Spy Master? I don't think we'll do Spy Master, because that's like full rogue. Former Legend. So this is a high-ranking bard. Interesting. Project Image and Major Image. Oh, maybe this is one of the people. So we could maybe use this as one of the people who's been putting up these signs. We've got Noble Prodigy as well. Don't think we'll do Nobles. We don't want Gith. Could bring the Gith in. Cultist now. I'm sort of torn between thugs. War Priest isn't bad. No, we won't do War Priest. I'm torn between thugs and a Performer Legend. Noble Prodigy of Vigilante. Are you talking Batman? We could. I mean, this is much more of a, beguiling strike. This is a panache sort of situation. Targets the charmed condition. Yeah, Performer Legend with added thugs could work, I think. I think if we're going charmed, we may as well have a majestic song and a bejeweled baton and all that. Oh my god, yeah, okay. So what we have is this Performer Legend and a marching band. A marching band of thugs. Have any of you seen have any of you seen Severance? That's sort of like deeply unsettling marching band energy is kind of what I want to bring in. I might do this then. Okay, so how many XP is this? 5,900? 5,900. We go back to Obsidian. So 1x Performer Legend. Severance style. So Inultrare Acolyte. Putting up Program Delusions. Name of Iris. Okay. And then commanding. Let's just see how much budget we've got left. So how much was that worth? That's 5,900 XP. 5,900 XP means that we have about 6,000 XP left. Otherwise, that's the entire encounter. If it's 2 of them, it's the entire encounter, which is fine. With 5 PCs, we will then add in a marching band. And these are thugs that are just beating people with musical instruments. Marching band of thugs. Let's quickly find a lower CR thug that we can use. They won't be called thugs anymore, actually. They got rid of that. Because apparently the word thug is from Indian for a certain kind of cultists who were assassinating people. Toughs is what they've called them now. That's right. Apparently that's where the word comes from? Yeah. They were like assassins or something like that. Wild. We got bandit captains. It's we can 450. We can bring in 10 of them. So 10 bandit captains could work. What about berserkers? Hold on. Great axe. It's trombone. While bloody, the berserker has advantage on attack rolls and saving throws. That could be fun. Okay, so that's the brass section. All right, that's the brass section. We also got bards. I don't know if we want more bards. Berserkers? Absolutely. I don't want to put too many enemy types in. Could have a few archers. Knights. Knights is probably too much. Knights is too much because the AC is very high on them. Scout captain, maybe? That could work. So they're 700 each. And the Berserkers are 450. So let's get... I'm getting a calculator up. You won't be able to see the calculator. So the first one was the performing thing. CR8, right? It's equivalent to a champion. So that's 5,000 XP. Okay. And then our budget is... Oh, I forgot to swap windows over, did I? Well, that's my bad. Our budget is 11,500. So 11,500 minus 5,000, 6,500 left. We go back over to here. So we wanted Berserkers. Oops, accidentally middle clicked. Berserkers were 450 each. Let's put in 3 Berserkers and then fill out the rest with archers. So that gives us 5,000 left for the archers. How many archers can we put in there? That's a lot of archers. Maybe we find something higher level. Scout Captain is also free. Uh-huh. Gladiator maybe instead of Berserker for the brass section maybe. 1,800. That is better. You know what? I'm gonna have gladiators for the brass. Berserkers for the brass section. Gladiators for the rest. How many gladiators can I fit in 5,150? That's not correct. Hang on. 5,150 divided by 1,800. 2.86. We're going to put 3 in. 3 gladiators, 2 berserkers, and a partridge in a pear tree. Marching band of 3 gladiators and 2 berserkers. And that gives us a total of 6 enemies, which is nice. And 2 berserkers, brass instruments. So that's a nice combat there. Obviously, they've got to, sneak around, and we'll improvise that. We got civilians and spotters. We already know that. We got the wanted posters. That's just a little bit of flavor, and then sneak into the tavern. So I've already got a map for the tavern. We're gonna have trolls. You know what? Guards are going to be there. Guards are going to be investigating the crime scene. Guards are investigating the crime scene. Patrons are still live there. Probably if a package has come in for one of the people accused of, because there was an explosion at the inn. If a package for one of the accused, it's probably been taken by the guards, or maybe they've got it in lockup. Package is currently it's being catalogued. It's being catalogued by some sort of admin. Guards investigating the crime scene. Package is currently being catalogued. Patrons still live there. There we go. The half red and half blue dragon gladiator. Oh, that would be good. Yeah, maybe. That could work well. Okay. I think that's the session. Oh shit, I forgot one other thing that's happening immediately. Felix's shadow returns from the court of spring. Was sent to sort of guess at the intentions of the Fae Queen. So basically, this mission to kill the wizard was instigated by a Fae Queen in the Court of Spring, and all they got was a name and a location, and they were like, kill this person. And they didn't know why. So in order to actually ascertain if this person needed to be killed, they have sent the rogue's shadow, which is someone detached from his body because of Fae reasons, to go to the Fae court and do some initial investigations. So I already know the intentions, so I can then just do that. So I think that's a whole session, honestly. And if it isn't, we're at the point where I'm like, I don't know what the players want to do next, like what their primary concern is. Yeah, basically the same. I rolled on the same table and the same thing happened. So we're just going to do that. That's it. Session. Done. That's all you need to prepare for a session. And then you just, every session, you just update this document. Put anything that you need to remember up here. Anything that's long-term down here. Technically speaking, I could put the projects down there, actually. Which will make this bit easier. There we go. Just update this each time. That's it. Prep. So having done... I forgot to change the screen again. Here we go. Prep done. You know what? It's tricky, okay? Not unlike rocking a rhyme that's right on time. It's tricky to put screens on right. I need like a producer sitting over my shoulder. But yeah, that's it. Prep done. Let's have a look. So Blue came in and mentioned that there's some new UA. Let's have a look at that. And then we'll just natter about things in general. So if there's anything you particularly want to talk about, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just train of thoughts. It's you, the producers, as in, presumably as in the musical. Oh, you posted it in my tabletop channel. Thank you. That makes that easier. Wonderful. Just get that over on the web page. Okay. Oh, I forgot I had a joke. I had a joke ready. And I've done all the prep now. Terrible. Terrible, 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 terrible. My joke was that, you know, it's very difficult for me to prep without the right music, so... Anyway. Let's go over to the thing. Blue, you got a request? Okay, well, we'll do this thing first, and then we'll go over to it. Stop rotating you, Iris. I'll do my best. I need to put hugs in something, but we're not done for the evening, so I'll work something out. Okay, villainous options. Nice. Cleric, Pestilence, Circle of the Titan, Hell Knight, and Demonic Sorcery. Interesting, put Hell Knight under Fighter. I would have put that under Paladin. Putting in content warnings now. Very good. Okay. So, oh, here we go. It's starting. Right, Pestilence how is this that different from Circle of Spores? It's interesting. It's not. It is about more like disease as opposed to mushrooms, but Circle of Spores has a lot of necrotic and festering in it. So it's sort of the clerical version of that. Okay, so it's sort of going slightly druid, but there are a lot of subclasses that do that, right? Inoculated Soul, you have resistance to necrotic and poison damage. You can't be infected by magical contagions. Makes sense. Rotten Fester, damage from your cleric spells and cleric features. Ignores resistance to necrotic and poison damage. That's powerful, because a lot of things resist poison damage. When you cast a cleric spell or use a cleric feature that deals even necrotic or poison, you can change that damage to the other type. Not sure why you would want to do that. Oh, I suppose if they have immunity, because resistance is not immunity. Yeah, I can see that then. Your connection, blah, blah, blah. You get spells. Detect poison and disease, of course. Protection from poison, of course. Ray of enfeeblement. Ray of sickness, makes sense. Stinking cloud, sure. Vampiric touch. Yep. Blight, yep. Giant insect. Is that a new spell? Is that a new spell? I don't recognize giant insect. Hang on, I need to look this up. Oh, it's... You summon a giant insect. Okay. I don't like how it's not a consistent naming. Like, call it summon giant insect, please. Contagion and insect plague as well. Is insect plague new? I remember contagion. Insect plague is also not that new. Okay, cool. I just haven't noticed these spells. Contagion's a classic, though. As a magic action, you can present your holy symbol and expend a usage. Right, Channel Divinity gives you a withering plague around you. Okay. Surrounds you or an willing creature you touch. That's an interesting little twist. You can pass on the plague to someone else. Very nice. Okay. Each creature of your choice that starts its turn in the emanation, so you can put it on the tank. Must succeed on a con save or gain an exhaustion level. Ooh, that's a little funky. That's new. I don't really know of many spells or abilities that hand out exhaustion, so that's fascinating. Yeah, summon Bigum Bugum. That should be the name of the spell, yeah. Okay. Can't increase the creature's exhaustion level higher than a level equal to your wisdom modifier. For example, you have a wisdom score of 16. This feature can't increase the creature's exhaustion level higher than 3. But that means that at 20th level, you can kill someone. Because at 20th level, your wisdom modifier will be +6. Because the 19th level ability score increase can go above 20. Interesting. Of course, it's going to take 6 turns for that to happen, so it's not that powerful, but it is useful still. The plague spread by this feature manifests with a specific symptom. Choose it from the plague symptoms below, or determine it randomly. Choose or determine randomly. I would probably have just said choose, but I guess, you know. Is drained of all color? Oh, okay, so it's not a gameplay mechanic. Do you choose each time? I'm unclear. My interpretation is you choose each time, which is fine. It probably doesn't matter either way. You could always choose the same one anyway. Yeah, that's fine. These are nice. Sheds metallic rust-hued flakes and creaks while moving is a cool little thing. I like that. Okay, at level 6, what are you doing? You're bursting. When an enemy within 60 feet of you is reduced to 0 hit points, take a reaction called Plague to Burst. Okay, corpse explosion. Very nice. Very nice. Spreading the pestilence. And if they... Oh, okay. This is an interesting little subclass, actually. So if they already had 1 exhaustion level from your previous thing, presumably, then you can burst it further. Each creature of your choice in the emanation get different effects as well. Okay. So con save again. Targets the incapacitated condition until the end of its next turn. That's powerful. Why would you ever choose anything else? Sorry, hang on a second. Why would you choose anything other than Putrid Shock? 3d6 damage is nice, but why would you not choose Putrid Shock? Right? Your allies are going to be able to... I suppose it depends how many... Like, if it's minions, Toxic Infection is probably... That's probably fine. Like, if it's a load of low-level enemies all in a horde, that's probably fine. That's the only time that makes sense. Any other time, Putrid Shock is going to beat it hands down, because you won't take any damage from them for 1 round. None of your allies will, and your allies will be able to do some heavy amount of damage. It's automatically going to turn off things like concentration and things like that. Oh, it's got to save though, so it's not guaranteed. But then so's the damage. Necrotic weakness is the time it makes sense. Yeah. This is good. This is okay. It's not bad, but this is really good. Number of times to your wisdom. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, bear in mind, this is a full caster as well. Like, they get full access to magic. Vermin form. Bonus action, you shapeshift into a medium swarm of tiny pests such as cockroaches, maggots, or rats. Great. Love it. Right, you get all... It's same as wild shape. Wait, you continue using that equipment while in this form? What? You can turn into a horde of rats and still wield a sword? Wild. Okay. Fair enough. Big rat ball with a sword is now possible. Great. Condition immunities, blah, blah, blah. That's powerful. It's not overly powerful for a 17th level feature. It's powerful, though. Resistance is fine. Again, at 17th level, you're not exclusively taking that damage anyway. You can enter and occupy another creature space. You have a climb speed. Yeah, that's fine. Whenever you enter an enemy space, the creature takes damage equal to your wisdom modifier. Sure. That's a lot. This is almost like a paladin's avatar form. So it's not like broken, but it is a lot. And you could... Oh, and at 17th level, how many level 5 up spell slots have you got? 6? That's too many. Right? Hang on. 17th level, you have... 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 6 slots. So you could do this 6 times a day. I mean, it's big. It's big. Speaking of big, Circle of the Titan. Okay. So this is sort of like Path of the Giant is what I'm assuming. When you reach a druid level, blah, 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 you gain spells. Cure Wounds, Long Strider, Thaumaturgy. Makes sense. Fear. Sure, I guess. Stone Skin makes more sense. Destructive Wave? Yeah, no, I like that. Titan form. When you use Wild Shape, you can adopt a Titan form, choosing from the Behemoth, Leviathan, and Insectoid stat blocks. Interesting. Okay, Insectoid. Interesting. Mothra, I'm guessing. Mothra. Leviathan, classic sea monster, and Behemoth is... That's cool. Okay. Determine what your Titan form looks like. Choose the Titan appearance. Adding these little these tables is a nice new touch. I don't think they've ever done this before, of these little, like, what happens. Dire Impact. Your Titan form brings greater devastation. You gain the following benefits. Oh, right. We're going to... Hang on. Let's take a break and go have a look at these stat blocks. Okay. Behemoth. Large, huge, or gargantuan. Monstrosity. God, the people on TikTok shitting all over that one short I did about how druids can't wild shape into monstrosities. Oh, I'm going to have a field day with this. Behemoth. Okay. Decent AC. 10 HP of 2 times your druid level. Fine. Yep. 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 I like that they specifically state that what doesn't change. That's nice. Because it's always a bit confusing. Yeah. Okay, cool. When you enter the space of an enemy that is at least one size smaller than you for the first time on a turn, that creature is subject to the following effects. Strength saving throw. Failure, the target has the prone condition, so you're like knocking people prone. Or it takes extra damage. Nice. Deal double damage to objects and structures. That's cool. Underused. Right. Rend is fine. I guess you... It's 1d8 plus wisdom? I guess multi-attack... Yeah, okay, so this is your only access to multi-attack as a druid, I suppose, apart from, like, gorillas and stuff. So that's probably okay, actually. Yeah, no, that's probably okay. You spend a level 1 spell slot and make a saving throw. Oh, no, the enemy makes a saving throw. Oh, and you get a breath weapon. Okay. Radiant breath weapon. Yeah, this is absolutely Godzilla. That is absolutely Godzilla. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, Leviathan. Large, huge, gargantuan, etc. Right, okay. Gains the swim speed. Blah, 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 blah. Relatively standard. Slightly lower AC. You can breathe air and water. You get a little sort of toxic stench. You could sort of flavor it as an ink cloud. No, you can't. That's specifically letter. Never mind. Okay, I mean, that's cool. The poison damage isn't a lot. But poison condition is good. Two rend attacks. Same as before. Okay, so this is a reaction. You spend a level 1 spell slot, release an inky cloud. Heavily obscured. That's... Oh, 15-foot radius cube. Okay, that's... It's weird to suggest a radius cube. That's not normally how they say that. I was going to say, otherwise 15 foot is too small, because Gargantuan is 20 feet. So it's effectively like a, yeah, fog cloud. That's nice. Okay, so that's slightly more sneaky. The interesting thing is you don't appear to be able to be smaller than this when you change, which could be a problem later on, because this is a really good sneak creature. Insectoid. Right, same as the other stuff. Can fly is the difference. Really low AC comparatively. But you get flyby. You don't provoke an opportunity attack when you fly out of an enemy's reach. That's cool. Hive Mind. When you assume this form, you form a telepathic link with a number of creatures of your choice. That's very nice. That's great. Lovely. Sonic communication. Red attacks again. Energizing Pollen. You expend a level 1 spell slot and emit a cloud of healing. Okay. I like that. Okay, so they're nice stat blocks. They're nice. So you get then to take the Titan form. Dire Impact. Your Titan form brings greater devastation. You gain the following benefits. Elemental Rend. You can deal a specific damage type. That's cool. Shockwave. Your transformation upheaves your surroundings immediately after you assume a Titan form, or by taking a bonus action to expend a level 1 spell slot. While in Titan form, you can create a shockwave around you. That's cool. I like that. Bruce's soul knives get that at level 3, but they don't turn into Godzilla. Comparatively. At what level does the soul knife turn into Godzilla? That's not... I like that. You can just stomp on the ground and knock people down. That's cool. Primal Havoc. The unbridled power of nature surges within you, granting you the following benefits. Improved Titan form. You become huge. Yep. While you're huge or larger in your Titan form. Oh, you choose what size. Never mind. Okay, that's all right then. While you are huge or larger in your Titan form, difficult terrain caused by heavy snow, ice, rubble, or undergrowth doesn't cost you extra movement. Makes sense. You're just crashing through trees and stuff. Just seemed kind of funny for a level 10 ability. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. No, it's level 6. No, it wasn't. Wait, hold on. Oh yeah, it was level 10. No, you're right. Monstrous appetite. Your transformation embodies the vast size and terror of nature's titans. You can follow Bennett Gargantuan. Grappling Rend. Once per turn, when you are huge or larger and hit a creature with your Rend, you can give the target the grappled condition. Level 1 Furies in Draw Steel can do this. Just saying. You can only have one target. Yeah, sure. Swallow. As a bonus action, while you're Gargantuan, choose one large or smaller creature grappled by you. Make a strength saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failure, you swallow the target and the grapple condition ends. It is blinded and restrained, has total cover against attacks and other effects outside of your stomach, takes 2d8 acid damage at the start of each of your turns. I love that they say other effects outside of your stomach. The number of creatures you can have swallowed at a time equals your wisdom modifier. You must maintain concentration to hold swallowed creatures in your stomach. If you lose concentration or leave your Titan form, you regurgitate all swallowed creatures, each of which falls in a space within 10 feet of you and has the prone condition. Seems fine. I will say concentration is a lot harder to break than it seems at higher levels, so that's probably fine. Okay, Hell Knight Fighter. I'm shocked this isn't a paladin. Let's go. Okay, Diabolical Gift. As a soldier for the Agents of the Nine Hells, you've been given fiendish powers. You gain Devil Sight. Finally, a friend for the Warlock. The Warlock casting darkness and the fighter getting in there is going to be a nightmare. Devil's Tongue. You know Infernal? Sure. Hellfire weapon. When you take the attack action, you can imbue one weapon you're holding with Hellfire, transforming it into a Hellfire weapon. It remains transformed in this way for 10 minutes, or until you use this feature again, you die or the weapon is more than 5 feet away from you. Bree, I'm afraid this is a rogue you can play as a fighter. Well, this is a fighter you can play as a rogue, more accurately. While transformed into a Hellfire weapon, a weapon emits dim light in a 5-foot emanation, and whenever you deal damage with a weapon, it can deal your choice of fire or its normal damage time. So you activate it, jump into the darkness, and then stab people 4 times. Oh god, more level 3 features. That's a lot. Infernal Wound. Your Hellfire weapon can inflict infernal wounds. You have 1 infernal wound die, which is a d6. This is... It has sneak attack. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with your Hellfire weapon, you can deal extra fire damage equal to 1 roll of your Infernal Wound die and give the target an Infernal Wound. While wounded in this way, the target takes fire damage equal to 1 roll of your Infernal Wound die at the start of each of its turns. Ongoing sneak attack damage. This effect lasts for 1 minute until the target regains hit points or until the target or a creature within 5 feet of the target takes an action to staunch the wound. There should be an U there, isn't there? Is this a British thing where we put a U in where it shouldn't be? Or is it stanch the wound? I'm looking this up now. Oh, it's stanch. Huh. What's with the U then? Oh, it means steadfast and loyal. Okay, that's on me. Okay. Where'd I get to? You can use this in other types of con modifier. That makes sense. Not strength, interestingly. This must be the work of an enemy staunch. Yeah. Advanced wounds. When you roll your infernal wound die and roll a 6, you can apply one of the following effects. Oh, come on. Purulence of Mineros. That's a great word. Or phrase. Caustic pus erupts from the wounds. Each creature in a 5-foot emanation originating from the target takes acid damage equal to your... Okay, that's cool. Rupture of Cania. The wound ruptures with a spurt of arcane energy. The target takes force damage equal to your con mod. Stygian gangrene. Infernal rime spreads out from the wound. The target takes cold damage. And can't take reactions. Disgusting. The rogue would sue if we cared about the lore, right? I mean, fighters get a lot of features for good reason, because fighters always have Bonk as their only class feature. But this is a lot of things in the subclass, right? Hell-forged equipment. Your armor and weapons embody infernal armaments forged in the fires of Avernus, granting you the following benefits. Fire resistance. Unholy fire. Damage from your weapon attacks and fighter features ignores resistance to fire damage. Sure. Sure. That's fine. Hellfire Surge. When you use your action surge while wearing armor or wielding a shield, you can superheat your equipment, causing it to erupt with a hellfire and a 10-foot emanation originating from you. Each creature of your choice... Oh, this is cool. Each creature... I want to play this. I'm sorry. I don't care about the... Like... This is cool. This is also cool. This is the only one I want to play. Hellfire Surge. It's just every single action is cool as hell. You superheat your equipment, causing it to erupt with hellfire and a 10-foot emanation. Each creature of your choice must succeed on a dex save. On a failed save, a target takes fire damage equal to a roll of your infernal wound die and is burning. Oh, it's burning as well. So burning is weird. It's listed as a hazard in the monster manual, but it is effectively a condition. And you take a d4 of fire damage at the start of each of your turns. Blister of Avernus. Your hellfire leaves painful boiling blisters. When you roll a 6 on your infernal wound die, you can roll another d6 and add it to the damage. The maximum number of d6 you can add to the infernal wounds damage on a turn is free. So you, oh my god, you roll a 6 and it explodes. Lovely. Hellfire Condemnation. Whenever damage from your hellfire weapon or infernal... Oh, of course. Oh, you cheeky cunts. The maximum is 666. Right? Right? Hellfire Condemnation. Whenever damage from your hellfire weapon or infernal wound reduces a creature to 0 hit points, the creature dies, and its soul rises from the river Styx as a lemure in a lair of the 9 hells of your choice in 1d4 hours. If the creature isn't revived before then, only a wish spell can return the creature to life. Funky. At least it's not 66. Yeah. That's the Hellhound, I think, was 66 originally. It might be 3d6 now. Infernal Bargain. When you roll your infernal wound die, you can treat a roll of 1 as a 6. What are we doing? So you can roll a 1, treat it as a 6, roll another 1. Disgusting. I love this. This, I think, is the best subclass. All right, Demonic Sorcery. Let's get some demons. Pardon me. Alright, when you spend at least 1 sorcery point as part of a magic action or a bonus action on your turn, you can unleash something, an additional effect. Demonic Lash. 1 creature you can see within 20 feet of you takes 1d4 slashing damage, and you can pull it closer. That's nice. Sorcerers don't always want to be in the middle of the fight, but it's nice to get a few features for those who do, because a sorcerer isn't, like, terrible at fighting either, like up close. They are probably the most up close full caster aside from Druid. They're slightly more like damage dealing than a cleric is. Clerics are more of a tanky sort of up close fighter. The sorcerer is a little bit more, I hit them a lot, but they are still a bit glass cannony. But they do get a lot of interesting spells, and of course with the new True Strike, it's, you know, way easier to hurt someone. You know that a while back they did a UA that fixed the Arcane Archer fighter? Yeah, that was much better. That was much better. Arcane Archer really sucked, which is unfortunate because flavor-wise it was really cool. But it just sucked. I think that's out now. Let me have a look. I thought they'd release that one. Let's get 6 billion demons and then kill them. Let's not, because if we distract Tom Bloom anymore, I'm never fucking getting a finished version of Icon. No, I don't think the Arcane Archer has been updated, actually. Not yet. Hopefully it will. Okay. The other option, Fiendish Carapace. Attack rolls against you have disadvantage. Again, letting you get up close. Very nice. Demonic Spells. Detect Magic. Maybe? Entangle? Yes, that makes more sense. Misty Step I can see. Spider Climb as well. Dispel Magic? Gaseous Form. Or Gaseous Form. Sure. Yeah. Confusion? Yes. Hallucinatory terrain? Yeah. Contact of a plane? Absolutely. Hallow? Ish? When you use innate sorcery, you can infuse the chaos of the abyss into your surroundings. Right, yeah. While that's active, reality warps in a 10-foot emanation. Oh, so you get a little wild magic sort of effect table going on. Sticky webs, caustic ooze, terrifying screams, enthralling spores, poisonous foliage, and enervating bones. I'll innovate your bones. Abyssal conduit. Your abyssal aura is now a 20-foot emanation, and whenever you would roll on the abyssal effects table, you can roll twice and choose which one you get. If you roll the same number twice, you can choose any effect on the table. Very nice. Nice little touch. That's a nice little rules touch. I like that. Fiendish Servant, you can cast Summon Fiend. Sure. That's boring. Dull. Interesting. 2 paths. What is the path? Is it a feat tree? Huh. Yeah. So this is like prestiging towards it? Huh. Well, feat trees suck, but okay. Well, at least it's a single line instead of a tree, but yeah. Not a fan of feat trees. First of all, subclass reviews. Which ones do I like most? I think we all know Fighter is the absolute best one. Love this. 10 out of 10. Love this. Cleric, I think, is a little overpowered. That's fine. Most Unearthed Arcana is overpowered. They do that on purpose. Because if you release it a little overpowered, a little overtuned, people are likely to still try it. And then you get the feedback of, oh, this bit was overpowered and not, and they tweak it down. The features seemed fine, though. Circle of the Titan seemed fine. Honestly, I thought maybe even a little underpowered in some bits. Hell Knight, 10 out of 10, no notes. I did not care for the demonic sorcery. It did not seem interesting to me. It didn't seem as cohesively made as the others, in my opinion. Now, let's have a look at these paths. What is this? Selection feats represent a character's transformation into one of these 2 villainous archetypes. So this is if you want to become a Death Knight. Okay, sure. Bit of info. Blah, blah, blah. Begin by taking the Death Knight initiate feat, followed by any other path of the Death Knight feat you choose. Finally, when you reach level 12 or higher, take the Death Knight Ascension. Oh, so this is how to give you the features that a Death Knight stat block actually has. Okay. I still don't like it. I'm going to be honest, I still don't like it. It smacks of 4th edition subclass, 4th edition multi-class feats and things like that. Thank you, Bree, for
the Benzo's buck.
Thank you, Bree, for the Benzo's buck. And I don't think that fits with the 5e design, honestly. But whatever. Let's actually have a look at them. Death Knight Initiate increases strength for charisma a little bit. Prerequisite is weapon mastery feature. So this is actually open to all martials. Basically, all martials. A rogue can do this. Okay, death points. You have a number of death points. Sure. You always have Wrathful Smite. And you can cast it with a death point. I mean, this is just adding extra resources to track, which is probably fine on like a rogue, which has nothing to track, but might be a pain on a monk. Well, monks don't have weapon mastery, I suppose. But then you can gain weapon mastery through a feat. So your level 1 feat could be weapon mastery to be a wizard who becomes a Death Knight, which is a bit weird. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's a cool concept, actually, because you can do melee weapon attacks as a wizard, right? Using True Strike. So maybe that works. Like a charisma intelligence wizard. Using True Strike and then going Death Knight Initiate. Maybe that works. I don't know. Why wouldn't they just leave it tied to the usual proficiency times per long rest? I'm assuming because you're going to gain extra features that cost death points. So this is essentially like, you know, like monk key and sorcery points and that sort of thing. But it's like, ugh. Somebody saw Draw Steel and went, what if we gave everyone 20 million heroic resources? Which I think is the biggest weakness of Draw Steel, is that there are too many resources in that game. I think they should get rid of surges, and I think they should get rid of hero points, hero tokens. And just stick with your hero resource, and that's it. Also, welcome in, Envis. Okay, so Dread Authority is one of the options you can take. So you take one of these options, and then you take the level 12 one as well afterwards. You gain Command. Sure. Gain Bane. And it's slightly more powerful. Sure. Fear. Wait, this one's level 8 plus prerequisite. How would you get it otherwise? Because you've got to have Death Knight Initiate at level 4. How would you get a feat before level 8? Does Fighter get one at 6, maybe? Strange. I suppose DM can hand one out. Story purposes. Is a feat is a perfectly valid reward. Unholy Steed. Yep, fine Steed. So this is almost becoming a Dread Paladin. So this is the sort of Dread Paladin version. So you're gaining Dread Paladin. Why didn't they make a Dread Paladin subclass? Yeah, Fighter gets a feat at 4, but at 4 you've got to take this one. You've got to take the Dread Knight Initiate. Oop, I've accidentally done... no! Stop it! Why is clicking away causing this to happen again? Oh, because the highlight is selected. Okay, ignore me. Just old man doesn't know how to computer. And then finally the Ascension. You gain resistance to necrotic and poison damage. You don't gain exhaustion levels from dehydration, malnutrition, and suffocation. That makes sense. Becoming undead, sure. As a magic action, you can expend 1 to 5 death points to throw an orb of pure hellfire. Sure. I don't understand why this wasn't a subclass on Paladin. Is the only thing I'm left with. It opens up versatility, but the lack of versatility is part of the point in 5e. Oh, Fighter gets 1 to 6, so a Fighter could get there faster or take more feats. Okay, that makes sense. Path of the Lich. What do you get? You gain a Spirit Jar. That's kind of wild, actually, because Soul Jar is like a 6th level spell. Okay, what does it actually do? Oh, never mind. When you reduce the humanoid to 0 hit points, you can consume its soul and gain a boost of arcane energy. First creature you hit with an attack takes necrotic damage. You also gain this benefit if an ally does it. That's good, because otherwise it becomes a nightmare where you're like, oh, you're kill stealing. Sure, seems alright. I mean, it seems a little weak, but, you know, you're already a wizard, so you're already really fucking strong. When you use Soul Siphon, you choose 1 or more expended spell slots to recover. Sure. That seems neat. That's fine. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Choose a creature within 60 feet to gain temporary hit points. You're gonna just absolutely be shit out of luck when you face a boss fight, right? But these are nice. Mind you, like, wizards are outsized in power against bosses anyway, because they can, like, stun and things like that. You gain Chill Touch, sure. Oh, you could paralyze with chill touch. Okay, never mind. It's getting better. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. And then the Ascension. You gain resistance to necrotic and poison. Right. It's the same stuff as the other one. Frightening Gaze. You learn the Fear spell if you don't already know it. You always have it prepared. Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma is your spellcasting ability for the spell. Blah, blah, blah. You can cast a spell without expending a spell slot. Blah, 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 blah. Fine. Yeah, that makes sense. If you die, you reform in 1d10 days. If you have a spirit jar and aren't revived before then, you gain a new body, appearing with all your hit points to the nearest unoccupied space within 5 feet of your spirit jar. Don't like this. It becomes a massive problem for the player. If you are killed, you have some choices. 1, you hope the cleric has Revivify. Or something like that. 2, you roll up a new character. 3, you hope the party knows someone who can cast Revivify, right? Either way, you're doing something immediately, you know? Because the Revivify is going to happen straight out of the fight, etc., etc. You're not, like, gone for a long time. 1d10 days, 10 days, that could be 20 sessions before you come back. What are you doing in the interim? Are you playing a different character? And then just losing the character? That sucks. Especially as they're saying in 1d10 days. So this is player-facing 1d10. So the player's going to know it's 1d10, and therefore is presumably going to be the one who rolls the d10. Like, obviously the party could just decide to do nothing for a while and skip 9 days, do some downtime or whatever, but it sucks. Just have them come back. You know? Have them come back with 1 hit point. Straight after the fight. But the 10 days sucks. There's no benefit to that. It's just going to make things worse. It'd be rough if you had a tough fight and they died mid-dungeon. Yeah, exactly. Like, if they're in a dungeon, that dungeon could take a month of real time for the party to get through. But it's going to be like 4 hours of in-game time. So there's like still then a 10-day wait before your character comes back. At that point, I would prefer to not have this feature and instead simply roll a different character. It's just too much. Yeah, just have them come back straight after the encounter with 1 hit point. That's fine. This is a fucking 12th level feature. Don't be afraid to give them something. The Fear spell is not that good for a 12th level, like, wizard or whatever. Well, you got to be a spellcaster. You could be a ranger, I suppose, but yeah. I don't know. My vibe on these paths is I don't like them. It's just like, what if you had an additional class? And I'm like, 1 class is enough, honestly. It's fine. You know, yeah. Yeah. I get that they want to give people a way to become a lich or a way to become a death knight. But I'm not sold on it. I'm not sold on it at all. Yeah. Otherwise, though, these subclasses are great. I really, really like the fighter particularly. And of course, you know, they'll tweak this and rethink it, and they might scrap the paths if they don't like them, or they might rework them. But I don't know. I'm not vibing with the paths. But the subclass is awesome. Yeah, okay, that's the subclasses. Let's do some chitty chatty. Chitty chatty and nattering. First of all, I'm gonna hydrate because Jesus. So So obviously I've been doing a fair chunk of prep for Draw Steel. I gotta tell you, it's really easy to prep a combat encounter. It's really, 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 really easy. It's quite fun as well to just come up with like silly enemy ideas. It is really nice. Yeah. It's easy because they give you the numbers basically, and the tooling is already absurdly good. I don't know, anyone who plays like Draw Steel will be aware of Forge Steel. Forge Steel is amazing. Just an absurdly fun game to make a character for as well. Like the abilities you get, like you look at the things in here. You look at the things in here and they are cool. And you're like, this is great. You look at the first level abilities in Draw Steel and you're like, oh, Jesus, that's cool. And like, let me show you. No, I don't need to save the document. Boop. Let's make a... We were looking at fighters. Let's make a fighter. All right? So we'll just do the core stuff. We won't do any of the extra stuff. We'll just do the core stuff. So let's make the most boring Draw Steel character we can, and it's still going to be more interesting. We're going to make a human. We're going to make a human fighter, okay? So we get some points to spend on traits of things that humans have. I might zoom this in a little, actually, because we're at 90%. Let's go 110, just so it's more visible on people who've got smaller screens. So our options are, we get 3 points, and we can buy any of these in combination. So your connection to the natural world allows you to resist certain supernatural effects. You ignore temporary difficult terrain created by magic and psionic abilities. Additionally, when you are force moved by magic or psionic ability, you can reduce the force movement by 1. That's neat. Determination. You immediately end one of the frightened, slowed, or weakened conditions on yourself as a maneuver. Maneuver is a bonus action. We'll take determination. And let's take perseverance. Giving up is for other people. You gain an edge on tests made using the endurance skill. That's effectively advantage. Additionally, when you are slowed, your speed is reduced to 3 instead of 2. Perseverance and determination. Human fighter. Let's go culture. Our ancestry, we're going to go for our ancestral culture of being human. Can we go more boring? Mercenary band? That's pretty boring. Let's just go human. So we can ignore the language. That's just the languages in this. Let's grab a skill, because we grew up in an urban culture. We get a skill from the interpersonal or intrigue sections. Because we're humans, we're going to go brag. Communal culture, which means we get a skill from crafting and exploration. I don't mean to brag, but I'm a pretty good cook. Labor, we worked in a place that does a lot of laboring. We can do blacksmithing, or we can do anything from exploration, or we can do handle animals. Let's do handle animals, cooking, and bragging. We are not staying humble. We're an Instagram influencer right now. Okay, that's culture. We go to career. What's the most boring career? Aristocrat? It's not that boring. What's a classic? Beggar's a classic one. Farmer might be the most boring, actually. Laborer, I think. Yeah, we're gonna get laborer. Human fighter who used to be a laborer. We get the endurance skill automatically. We gain 2 crafting or exploration skills. We are going to take drive, because we used to like drive the horse and cart. And ride, because we would ride the horse and cart. We'll choose a language. We've picked up the language of Wahatl. Wahwattle. Exploration. Okay, so we gain a feat or a perk. This is an exploration sort of feature. We could go brawny. Friend catapult is extremely fun. You grab a willing ally and toss them. Or you can catch an ally, which I think is probably fun. Put your back into it is also pretty good. I'm basically going like the most like let's do brawny. We're just going like the strongest like guy on the farm, basically. Inciting incident. Ba-do. Embarrassment. There we go. Done. All right. Class. Tactician. That is the fighter. Okay. We're at level 1. So we are going to we're going to min-max. We're going to have low intuition and presence. We choose a tactical doctrine, which is our subclass. Insurgent. Doing your duty, playing fair, and dying honorably in battle is your opponent's job. You'll do whatever it takes to keep your allies alive. Mastermind. You have an encyclopedic knowledge of warfare, viewing the battlefield as a game board and seeking victory by thinking steps ahead of your opponents. This is not our character. Vanguard. You have learned the stratagems of ancient heroes. No, we're insurgents. We're going to fight dirty. All right. Level 1 choices. We gain the lead skill. We gain 2 more skills. Crafting. Let's make arrows. And also let us get the ability to lift things because we are just strong as an ox. Then our field arsenal. We gain 2 kits. Kits are equipment packages. We get 2 of them, which is pretty unique. These are cooler than they sound. So the Arcane Archer, for example, is a full subclass in D&D. Here you get an exploding arrow and the ability to use a bow and a bunch of stats. So, yeah. I am going to go for Mountain. Don heavy armor and raise a heavy weapon. That could be cool. Pugilist could be funny. And just like... yeah. We get Let's Dance. Just moving people around a lot. A raider, a ranger, rapid fire, Retiarius, shining armor. We're not a knight in shining armor. Swashbuckler a little bit. Sword and board, classic. We're gonna take sword and board. Which gives us a shield bash. You know what we're going to do? We've got sword and board, which gives us a shield bash, and we're going to then take martial artist. We have just a shield. We have not got a weapon. We have just a shield. We're Captain Americaning it. Okay, then we get our 3-point ability. This is like spells, but for this, in this case, martials. So concussive strike absolutely is our 3-point ability. 5-point ability. Hammer and Anvil's pretty good, but funnily enough, not what I'm talking about. Mind game? Probably not. Now, each target can make a free strike. Or this is what we plan for. Each target who hasn't acted yet this combat can take their turn in any order. 2 people can take their turn in any order immediately after yours. Good lord, imagine if you had a rogue on your team as well. Look at that. And it's only a bonus action. That's kind of wild, honestly. I mean, that's so broken, I think we got to do it. And then we gain a skill in intrigue. Maybe alertness is good. What is Cilia? Sabotage. We just bonk it. We're going to bonk it. Okay. Then we go into the complication. They're optional, but you've got to do it because they're very cool and very funny. Right, what is the most... Coward? What does Coward do? While you're frightened, you can move towards the source of your fear, but whenever you make a saving throw to end the frightened condition, you roll 2d10 and take the lowest. Very silly. That could work. Curse of Caution. Until you've taken your turn in the combat round, any strike made against you takes a bane, but your speed is lower. Interesting. Betrothed to a ghost would be cool as hell. Disgrace, no. Famous relative, no. Exile, maybe. Following in the footsteps. Your personal idol was a mighty hero, and you have modeled yourself after them. From studying the many heroic tales told of them, you hope to someday learn their most famous battle technique. Choose a heroic ability for your class of a higher level than you currently are. When you take this ability in future, its heroic cost is permanently reduced to 2. In your quest for advanced techniques, you have neglected the basics. Choose a heroic ability you already know. The ability's resource cost is permanently increased by 1. Oh, by 2. Okay, that's not as cool. Getting too old for this. That could be it. This is the hardest part, honestly. Is picking what weird complication you've got. Grifter, no. Hunted, hunter. Indebted. That could work. Loner, lightning soul, life bonded, lost your head, lucky, master chef, meddling butler, mundane, misunderstood. Mundane could be fun. Medium, outlaw, pirate, preacher, primordial sickness, raised by beasts. If we were doing the full Robin Oatcakes, it would be raised by beasts. Promising apprentice. Refugee, rival, rogue, talent, runaway. Oh, runaway, I think. Members of your family are looking to drag you home? Secret twin? It could be very funny. It could be very funny. Slight case of lycanthropy. No, that's great. We're going to take the slight case of lycanthropy. Details. Name. We're gonna name this guy Vigorous Bubbles. Done. Save. There you go. Character sheet made. Demon Contract is also cool. There you go. But like, you compare this. I'll grab the actual sheet. You compare this to a level 1 D&D character, and it's so night and day. Like, a level 1 fighter's options are action surge. Wait, is it action surge? What does a fighter get? Fighting style, second wind, and weapon mastery. So they get a small numeric boost. They get the ability to heal occasionally, which, by the way, everyone gets in this. In fact. I close this and reopen it. Hang on. In fact, everyone does. And weapon mastery, which is your attacks do an additional effect, which sounds familiar to me. You get, as a first level fighter, you get all of this. So, strictly speaking, as a fighter, you gain Battle Grace, which is, this is your cantrip, effectively, which lets you swap places with who you're attacking, letting you move around the battlefield. You gain this wonderful cantrip as well, where you choose an ally and you get them to hit instead. You gain the Shield Bash. This came from our kit. You gain the concussive strike. This is our more expensive ability. You gain mark, which lets you gain an advantage against targets, and all of your allies do. And every time they hit them, you can do things. You gain an ability to detect ghosts for some reason. Look, there's Second Wind. It's a bonus action in this. You gain, this is what we planned for, which is where you get like 2 other people taking their full turn. You get to do a lot of shit when people attack your marked targets. You get advanced tactics. So someone hits any other creature. So an ally hits any other creature. The ally gains 2 surges, which they can use on the triggering damage, which means they'll do extra damage. Surges are a little like sneak attack. And you can increase the potency, which means that you apply conditions more. Like, there's so much. And like every class has all of this going on. I think personally it can be a little too much. I feel like they need to release some rules for a level 0 character. I think level 0 draw steel characters would be a good idea for teaching draw steel in particular. So a progression system, like, you know what? Let me write out what I think should happen in that. Hold on. Back to Obsidian. There we go. All right, we're just gonna make a new note. Draw steel level 0. So, first of all, you should get your signature abilities at level 0. You should get all of them. So you can have up to 3, depending on your class. You'll have minimum 1. You should get those. Those are your cantrips. Okay, you should get your maneuver, and you should get your triggered action. Okay, that's your core class features. Okay, in combat, those 3. I don't think you should get your heroic resource. And that's probably me. You know what? You get your heroic resource because some triggers, some of your triggered actions will require it. So like tacticians have to spend that. You gain your heroic resource, you get your triggered action, you get your maneuver, you get your signature abilities. But you don't get your heroic abilities. And let's say after 3 victories, someone's probably used to the rules by then, because there's a lot of other stuff going on at that time. After 3 victories, you gain your 3-point heroic. 4 victories, you get your 5-point heroic. And then you're good to go. So a victory is just how many combats you've gone through. So once you've gone through 3 combats, you can have your 3-point heroic. That's fine. I think by that point you understand the rules enough. This, by the way, is roughly what the intro module does. They give you specific character sheets where you don't have all of your features yet in order to teach it. But I think you could just generalize that instead of having, specific pre-made characters. And this is already a lot. I think maybe at 3 victories you can get surges as well. And then at 4 you can get hero tokens. That's probably fine. I mean, you might want to space it a little bit more. 5 victories. I think it's 8 victories per level or 10, something like that. It might be even more than that. I forget. It might be 16 actually now I think about it. But yeah, something like that. And that gets people into it. Because otherwise you're looking at your sheet and you're like, there's 20 things on here. Like, how the fuck do I learn this? Especially as they are definitely designed in such a way that you should be using all of them to have the most fun. And you've then got to understand what your other players are doing as well, because you have to interact with them. D&D 5e is designed mostly around not really caring about what your allies can do. You care about their state more than anything. Like, are they alive? Are they, you know, what's their health at? Have they got any nasty conditions? You don't really have to care about what they can do. You can occasionally set up combos, but it's not the default state. Most of the time in 5th edition, you can just run around and do your thing, right? In Draw Steel, you have to strategize together. This is similar to 4th edition as well. But in Draw Steel, there will be things that your allies can do that help you and help them, and everyone needs to know that. For example, the tactician that we were talking about has a mark ability. They mark someone. That person is special. That's the priority target. If you attack the marked person, the tactician gains essentially like a spell slot. But they can also let you heal, or let you deal more damage, or move, or things like that. So you've got to know what your allied tactician can do. And you will also have some things that rely on other players. So it requires a lot more coordination. So there's a lot more things to know and try to remember. So I do think that starting off at like a level 0 is a better idea for Draw Steel. And just sort of simplify it a little and then unlock the features relatively quickly. Free victories is not hard to get. You can get 2 in a single combat if it's a hard one. You're probably not doing hard ones at level 0. But you can get, or you can get them outside of combat as well. So it's not just free fights. It might be, I would do it this way, where you would do 1 fight, 1 negotiation, and 1 montage, which is a sort of collection of skill challenges. I would do those 3 as your intro, because then you're sort of introduced to all of the 3 major pillars of play. You're introduced to social, you're introduced to exploration, and you're introduced to combat. And at the end of that, you suddenly gain surges and your 3-point heroic ability, which seems fine to me. And so you play around with those for like a fight or 2, and you get your 5-point heroic ability and your hero tokens. Neat. So yeah, I think that's probably the way to do it. That's the way I would do it anyway. What else have I been doing lately? I've been looking into Fate. I like Fate from what I've been reading. Very nice. For anyone who wants to learn Fate, by the way, the Fate rule set is actually free. You can just get it, pay what you want on DriveThruRPG, which I thought was neat. It's a little confusing as to which one you should actually go for. I think it's not Fate Accelerated. Fate Accelerated is the condensed rule set for if you want to run a game tonight and want to just like go for it immediately without any prep or depth. I think that's pretty well reviewed though. But that's not the one. I'm trying to remember, like, I genuinely can't remember what the actual one it is. They've each got a silly name. But the way Fate works is they use like keywords. They're called aspects, and they're effectively keywords. So you might have the like aspects of let's see, what's a good aspect? You might have an aspect, let's say you're a fighter, right? Let's say you're a human fighter. You might have the aspect of raised by farmers. Okay? And that's a keyword. So 13th Age also has a sort of textual background system, textual skills. So in 13th Age, if you're doing a skill check, your background might be, I was raised by the greatest farmers in the land who won many ribbons for their prized pumpkins. That might be your background in 13th Age, and you would have a +5 to that. Anytime you could roll and that background would apply, you'd get a +5. Which admittedly is maybe not that common. I don't know. Think about it. How does this apply? Let's have a look. Cooking. Because you know about ingredients, good ingredients and things like that. It applies to nature in general, right? You're good at growing things. You're good at maybe identifying plants and things like that. It might apply to talking to merchants and things like that, because, you know, you're working on a farm, you would have probably had to deal with business and things like that. And, you know, there's various other things, so you can use it like that. Aspects are like, what if that, but about anything? So you might have the aspect of raised by farmers. You might have an aspect of injury. Broken leg. Like, they can be negatives as well. You might have the aspect addicted to narcotics. Or can't help but steal shiny things, right? So now you have all of these aspects that apply to you, and in the game you could invoke those to gain a benefit. You invoke an aspect and you'll gain a plus to your dice roll, and you could invoke negative ones as well if that could somehow help you, if you've got a way for that to help you, if your broken leg might help you in a skill check somehow. Maybe you're trying to convince someone to give you healing and you're like, well, I've got a broken leg, like, can I show them that and make a big deal about it? Well, yeah, you can roll and add a plus because of your broken leg. But if you're running away, the GM can go, you have a broken leg, I'm putting a minus on this. And that's called forcing, I think it's forcing a consequence on someone, essentially. But when someone does that, when you invoke one of your aspects, you spend a currency called a fate point. And that goes to the GM, who then gains one. When the GM invokes one of these negatively on you, they spend a fate point and give it back to you as the player. So it becomes this trade of these points. So by having consequences invoked on you, you're gaining points that you can use to then make your life easier in other situations. There's a slight nuance here, because aspects that just happen to be true in the situation are free. So if you want to talk to another farmer and you were raised by farmers, so you know all about farming and you're talking about farming, you can add the +2 without spending a fate point. If you are talking to a noble, trying to get some money for some reason, and you want to try and sort of wheedle the ability that you were raised by farmers as somehow being good, that's going to cost you a fate point. You basically can go, yeah, but, and then sort of weasel it way through. This is basically Bree's favorite game in the world, waiting to happen. Because 13th Age, you trying to get fucking what was it, Coffee Fiend as your background in 13th Age, this would let you. But aspects can also be temporary, which is wonderful. Like, obviously the broken leg can be temporary, but they can be regional as well. So currently standing next to a red barrel is an aspect. And enemies can have aspects, like currently standing next to a red barrel. And so you can invoke that when you attack to explode the red barrel. So it's almost entirely keyword. There's very little numbers in this whole game. There is some, it's not 100% keywords, but the keywords are really important. And I think this means you could very easily do this without a grid or a map or anything like that. And you can go, okay, so person 5 is stood next to a red barrel. They have that aspect. You could have an aspect of shrouded in mist, and you can use that to avoid being attacked or something like that. But you might struggle because you're shrouded in mist as well. So that's I think that's a really neat way of doing things. There's an article series on, I think it's Explorer's Design, called the One Hit Point Dragon, which sort of builds on this fate aspect system. With the idea of having a dragon that has no statistics at all. Or rather it has, but no numbers. So the idea is, and I like this idea. I don't know how fun it is. They've said so far that in order to do this, they still think that players are going to have statistics at the moment, but the enemies will never. The idea is that your enemy is a puzzle. So it will have a series of aspects called armors. And they can be various types. A simple dragon might be, one, it is flying, so it's hard to reach. That's an aspect. Another is it is maybe wreathed in fire, so it's hard to get close. And then a third one might be that it has adamantine scales, so it's hard to breach. The dragon is destroyed when you take down every armor. Now, some armor can be permanently destroyed, some can't. So the fact that it's flying, that's a temporary measure. You could permanently destroy that by taking out its wings. Or you can temporarily destroy it by goading it to the ground. Then its flying armor is disabled, but could be re-enabled again if it decides to take off. So the team have to come up with an action that gets through all the armor, either by disabling them individually or doing one thing that gets through all of them. So if you, for example, have a ranger with a black arrow that can pierce adamantine, they can do it in one action. It's flying, but their bow can reach it. It's rooted in fire. They're not having to get close. It has adamantine scales. They have a black arrow that can pierce it. Done in one action. But if you don't, how do you defeat this? You don't necessarily need a solution as a game master, by the way. I often recommend throwing situations at players and letting them just sort of go for it. And the 1 HP dragon sort of extends that beyond the sort of more puzzle and exploration sort of scenarios and more into combat as well. The thing I don't yet know is, how does the dragon respond? Because the dragon's not just doing nothing, right? How does the dragon respond to their failed actions? Presumably, you take something like a Powered by the Apocalypse approach, where any failed action incurs a consequence on you. Sounds more like a bard. Yeah, the bard can certainly penetrate an adamantine dragon, but that's different. That's different. But I like that design. I do like that design. I think that's interesting, you know. And I think it's a good way to do it. Honestly, to describe a monster. Because there's a stat block. Done. 1 HP dragon. It's flying, it's wreathed in fire, it has adamantine scales. There you go. Encounter, written. Right? Well, that's great. I know precisely what you meant. I didn't, actually. Oh, fuck. Bard is the name of the guy with the black arrows in The Hobbit. I get you. That's why you capitalized it as well. Yeah, okay. That's on me. I did not sleep well last night. I've been very ill. Not very, very ill. Just mildly ill. When people say I've been very ill, it more sounds like it's deadly or something. It's nothing like that. I just didn't sleep well. Because of tummy ache. I had a tummy ache, okay? You were woken up by a cop. Jesus, they finally got you for the crimes. Good on them, honestly. Good on them. ACAB, but I'm rooting for that one. Less dramatic than it sounds. Yeah, no, I saw. You just had to provide a statement for something. Yeah. But yeah, I like that design idea. And yeah, it's sort of similar in Fate. There's more numbers in Fate. It's not like just 100% that. But yeah, I'm creating a game, a silly game, that I might stream. I mean, it depends. We're recruiting players at the moment on the Discord, and it's going to be a game of Fate. And the idea is that everyone is a late stage capitalism D&D influencer actual play character. So everyone is being played by someone who is a D&D influencer or something like that, who is running an actual play that's been going for like several seasons. They've got merch, they do like Comic-Con or live shows and things like that, and as such the character has become flanderized heavily to just the things that are like marketable. And we've taken that one step further. So everyone is just basically heavily sponsored by something. And so I'm thinking, we'll run that in Fate. One of your aspects is going to be your sponsor that you can invoke and things like that. Very much a comedy one shot. Just on that idea. So that's I'm recruiting that at the moment. We'll see how that goes. I put up a lot of games for recruitment. I'm not particularly wedded to any of them. I just see what people like. I hate repeating myself, but yes, what people like. So I think there's like 12 games currently up there recruiting, and I see which ones fill up fastest. The ones that fill up fastest are likely to have players who are like already on board, which is good. That one's going slowly, but I think that one's a harder sell. I think it's a harder sell. A comedy one shot compared to like something with a bit more story is a harder sell in general. Even if like Uplift was technically a comedy, like it had a silly premise. It wasn't as fully designed just to be a comedy. And Uplift was great. Jesus, I'm proud of Uplift. I'm real proud of Uplift. I think that went fantastic. Yeah. Really, really good. Pardon me. Yeah, Uplift was great. I want to talk about next. Do you want to talk about a bit of the TTRPG I've been designing? Hey Blue, can you remind me what that was? And then yeah, sure. The what? You what? Icky says, oh, is that to Envis? Icky, if you've not watched Uplift, you gotta watch Uplift. Player killed a mummy lord in last night's Normal. Wants to harvest the body parts and make a thing. You want this man cursed for his hubris? Yeah, absolutely. So, I would immediately go the mummy route, right? Alright, mummy lord curses, let's go. Okay. So defiling a mummy lord's body. You kind of want to go biblical with this, right? You want the plagues, right? Make this a bigger problem than just this man, is what I would say. I bring a plague of locusts to Airedale that eats all the crops and is threatening to starve people. And then what you can do is you can. What level is everyone at the moment? I don't want to suggest something that's just going to kill everyone. Approaching 10. Okay, so you could maybe get away with it. Let's assume what, a party size of 5? Party size of 5, level 10. We're talking these budgets then, hilariously, which is very nice. So a high is 15,500. You can probably go up to 20,000. You'll be okay. That's 50,000. We might want to do a reduced threat version of this. No, that's probably not right, actually. I don't know. I was going to suggest the Blob of Annihilation, reskinned to be like a Plague of Locusts. But maybe we can do something else. Maybe we could do something else here. Okay, another option. Give them contagion. So, don't give them the save. They have contagion. Don't do the damage. Ignore the damage. They have the poisoned condition. And everybody they touch gets the poisoned condition. Okay? Obviously, paladins can remove this, so this is great. Can't remove the contagion. From the original player. So the paladin can cure everyone else, but not the original player. The original player is too heavily cursed. I would say make it a 7th level spell. Heal, for example. To fix. Or a quest. Poison condition is rough, actually. I don't know if that might be too much. Because that's disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks. That's pretty rough. That's and by rough I mean that's just not fun. So let's work that a little bit. Let's workshop that a little bit. It's like a contagion. It applies an effect that is negative. You know what? Half hit point maximum. That's not very fun. That's just numbers. That's just numbers. It's just numbers. Morian Cleric. Okay. Okay. What were the biblical plagues? I remember locusts. I remember livestock dying. Invasion of frogs. The Nile turned to blood. Gnats from the dust. Pestilence of livestock. Infection of boils. Storm of hail. 3 days of darkness, and then the death of the firstborn. Let's not do that last one. What about, everyone died after opening Tutankhamun's, thing, right? Ooh. Okay. Yeah, here's what we do. Here's what we do. You and everybody who was in the room is cursed. While cursed, you gain 1 point of exhaustion. That cannot be removed or reduced by resting. Each day, each long rest, you gain 1 point of exhaustion that cannot be removed or reduced by resting. Because these curses always apply to everyone who was there. It doesn't apply to the person who did the thing. It's everyone who was there. While cursed, you gain 1 point of exhaustion that cannot be removed or reduced by resting. So, intention here, it can be removed or reduced by greater restoration. But it then comes back after a long rest. Then it's a quest to deal with that. Up to you how you deal with that. My suggestion is don't invoke too much travel to do it. Because, of course, the long rests will be a problem. And this is sort of vibing with the sort of slow death that everyone who opened the tomb of Tutankhamun got. I don't think it was Tutankhamun everyone who died, actually. No, it was. Good way to punish him was you weren't the Mummy Lord DM, but you were a player, so Parfait gonna get cursed. Yeah, so I would say something slow, but something that gets worse and worse. A 10th level cleric can hold that exhaustion on one person at one via divine intervention. That's fair. That's tricky. It's gonna cost a lot. They might want to use on other things, but I would say let them. But several people have been cursed. So that's a big problem. So it becomes a resource issue then. So you absolutely have to go and get it fixed. I would say something like that. And then, you know, put a pyramid somewhere. Why is there a pyramid here? Isn't that weird? And then have some fun in there. Maybe fill it with xenomorphs for some reason. Just go wild. Go like full ancient aliens. And yeah. And then have some device that is powering the curse that needs to be broken or something. Pyramid is created by a bag of beans. Classic. Love it. For those who've watched Dungeons and Dadgies, that happens pretty early on in there as well. Yeah, just, alright, maybe they got to go into the Feywild and find another pyramid and clear it. Every TTRPG is better with xenomorphs? Absolutely. So yeah, that's what I would do, I think. I think that works. Right, I'm going to get myself another glass of water. And then I might chit-chat a little bit about the RPG I've been designing. So bear with me a sec. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Okay. So I'll just get it set up in the browser. So gotta log in and stuff. I don't want you seeing that. Oh, we might be on an ad break. Yeah, we got 40 seconds. Hang on. I will sign in first. Oop-a-doop-a-doo. I can never remember what my email address on this is. I have multiple email addresses, obviously, because I have personal and corporate one. Corporate? I mean, no. Personal and... Email me a QR code to sign in with, please. Business is the word I'm looking for the streams. That wasn't the right account. Hang on. Go log out and log back in. Alright. I don't know what my password is. That's weird. Do I not have one? Just email me the login code. I got a reply from my email to Capper. Beautiful. Beautiful. It's in caps. Okay, logged in. Right. Sorry about that. I mean, I'm logged in, but it's like showing me nothing. Hello? Oh, the bloody page. There it is. Okay, good. Boop boop doo. Breach. Okay. Let me move over now. Welcome to Breach. We can close that. So, I'll skip to this, which is the latest draft. You can share if you'd like. I'm delighted to swear at people. I haven't actually read the response. I just saw that there were caps. Hang on. Motherfucker in caps. Sent from the shadowy depths of my withered heart's TM. Beautiful. Hang on. We need to choose a nice Ooh, that's bright. That's darker. I prefer darker, I think, on this. Something that's pleasant. Have we got gunmetal on here? That would be appropriate. Nature? That's not appropriate. Pride dark? Yeah. It doesn't really change the main bit, does it? Radioactive's a bit too. Ultra dark. Wasteland. There we go. That's close enough. It's not quite gunmetal, but it's close enough. So, Breach is a tactical combat RPG that I've designed from the ground up. I have taken every sort of decision I've made and thought about it individually instead of like looking at a different framework. So it's probably bad. I'm going to start with it's probably bad. There are reasons people have done various decisions, but there are also a lot of games where people have gone... They've gone, well, this game does it and that goes great, right? Let's use that. And they haven't thought about whether they need that mechanic or not, right? You see this a lot with clones of D&D. So I've looked at everything from the ground up to see if I can make the best possible game of this style. I guarantee it won't be, but it's a good, interesting attempt anyway. So, Breach is aiming to replicate a sort of high-fun action movie experience, okay? It is aiming at sort of things like Die Hard, things like Rush Hour, anything Jackie Chan has been in, you know, the Bad Boys movies, stuff like that, all right? That's what we're aiming to replicate. It is technically about a group of operatives from a place called Breach Academy who are brought in when the police and the FBI can't deal with a problem. But you can be as lawful or chaotic as you want, really, in it. When I'm designing it, I'm in my head thinking, what would be in an action movie that's cool as hell, right? Or are the problem? Well, they can be the problem. They can certainly be the problem, absolutely. If basically the villains in this are, if they could be a villain in an action movie, they're a villain here, right? So you can have terrorists, drug dealers, but you can definitely have corrupt cops. You can have like an army that's been misappropriated or something like that, you know. So I'll just go through the decisions I made. Sorry, the layout is going to be really bad because I'm just writing things as they come into my head. So it's not going to be like laid out properly yet. It is literally just raw writing. I think I've done the combat. I think the combat is done. I think most of the exploration is done as well. Haven't done enough on what I call the recon phase, which is sort of a downtime section where you're gaining information. But that's the last bit for me to do. I think that's going to be relatively easy because a lot of that's going to be like free flow narrative. So it doesn't need a like rules heavy touch. I just need to do more content though. There is not enough content yet. So first of all, your character is built up of 4 attributes: head, chest, hands, and legs. And essentially each bit represents a general sort of vibe. So head is thinking, seeing things, negotiating with people. Chest is endurance. It's pushing yourself beyond limits. It's and things like that. Hands is anything to do with strength or finesse. So we're talking like punching or kicking is hands. Pickpocketing, maybe a lockpick would be hands as well. And legs is speed and movement. So it's like jumping, climbing, driving cars, anything like that. So easy enough. Attribute system, so you've got 4 attributes. They're all going to be D6 to start with. If you want one, you then make one of them better than the others. That's a D8. You make one worse than the others. It's a D4. The way we use attributes is you roll it a little bit like something like Kids on Bikes or Savage Worlds or Never Stop Blowing Up. In that you make a check by rolling a die and seeing what the numbers come out. And if you roll max, you add another die and roll it again. If you roll max, you add another die and roll it again. Things like that. So I've already done the maths. I sat down with a spreadsheet to work out what difficulties I wanted based on, what average stats are going to be. So, yeah, 4 or higher is the Savage Worlds standards sort of thing, but my numbers go higher than Savage Worlds does. So I have set that as easy. And yeah, as you can see, the numbers are not very high. They're quite compressed. And that's because you're not adding modifiers. There are basically no modifiers in this game. And that's painfully intentional. I want this to be a game people can do basically without knowing maths. There is a little bit of subtraction, and I couldn't get rid of it. And, I came up with other options, and I didn't like them anywhere near as much as subtraction, comparatively. But that's it. I am unsure about this section, but I'm thinking of just having expertise as being you have skills in these. We have something called boons and banes. They work like advantage and disadvantage. Except they can stack up to any number. When you are rolling, you can re-roll any failures. The number of times you've got boons. So if you've got 5 boons and you're rolling 3d6, you can roll and you fail on all 3, you can roll all 3 again. That uses 3 of your boons. If you still fail on 2 of them, you can re-roll 2 of those again for 5. It's rare to get 5 boons. You're really going to be looking at a range of 0 to 3, really, on the high end. When you're doing combat, you'll have a few more based on situations around you, but you'll also usually be rolling more dice. But though that sort of idea sort of gives you a more natural result as you're better things. For dying the idea of failing a parkour task 5 times, I know, right? It would be unlikely. This gives you get a boon. You get a boon if you're good at these things. I've just made a brief list of things that I think come up a lot in action movies, but there's probably plenty more I can add on. That's what I mean by it needs more content. I need a stronger list of these. And this is just a way to, I suppose, improve. Oh, look, I just wrote a word and then presumably my brain got distracted. The moves is basically you get little abilities that you can use outside of combat, because I don't want all the fun to be in combat. I am unsure if I'm going to use this. I don't know if I like the idea of moves, but there are some things that I want you to be able to do that I can't express through an equipment fantasy, because most of this is an equipment fantasy. It's not about your ability. It is about the stuff you've taken with you. And Lancer is the same. It is not about your ability in a mech. It's about what you've strapped onto the mech. Okay. So it is a sort of similar constructive fantasy, but there are some things that you can't go, oh, well, you know, I happen to have taken a piece of equipment that means I can dive kick someone out of a building or something like that. So I want to have like special moves as well, but I don't know. They might be a darling I kill, is what I'm saying. I have a justification at the moment for why they exist, but I'm not sold on it. And I think that's just something as I playtest it more. We'll see. So we got a bunch of those, but again, that list will increase. How a game actually works. So this is sort of semi-borrowed from Blades in the Dark, this structure. Pardon me. You think moves is a good call. Very much character in cutscene can jump out of a helicopter versus character in gameplay cannot climb over a box. That's what I'm thinking. Is, yeah, I want you to be able to do the cool shit, and not all of that is expressed through equipment, right? Yeah. So yeah, the phasing and how gameplay works is sort of kind of based off of Blades in the Dark-ish. So you'll be told there's a mission. You will then have the recon phase. This is when you are prepping before you leave for the mission. Okay? You'll gain an action budget of downtime actions you can do. So this is like leaning on informants, getting like blueprints for the building and pulling that up, like getting satellite images, things like that, getting word on the ground from other people, things like that, you know? So there's plenty of things you can do during recon to get yourself more information. Because this is a game that is an equipment fantasy, the recon section makes sure you know what equipment to bring. You know, if you turn up in the equipment fantasy game with a load of stuff for breaking down walls and shooting people, and then you're in a field, it's not going to work. So this is your way of getting that information. Rules of engagement is a darling I'm killing. It was meant to be like, here's some like mission modifiers that you get. I don't think it's working. I think just design an encounter, right? Then we get the approach. This is the exploration section. So when you're at the approach, you are on scene, but you are not at the final bit. An example of the approach, if you've seen the movie The Raid, the intro to The Raid is the approach. When they are going door to door, taking out like individual people and individual spotters and trying to climb through, and it ends when the chief cop shoots a kid who's running away. A spotter kid shoots him in the head, and that's when it suddenly goes, nope, whole place shuts down, and there are people with guns everywhere. So this is that section. It's where you're going to do a lot of cool things to get yourself in a good position for when it's time to breach. basically the idea here is there are going to be things in your way. You're getting past them using skill checks and things like that, using equipment you've brought, and using your moves. And if you do well, when it comes time to breach, you'll have the element of surprise, which means you'll go first, which is very important in this game because initiative works a little differently to something like D&D, and all that sort of thing. When it comes to breach initiative, it's team-based initiative. So whoever goes first, which is you if you have the element of surprise, it's the enemy otherwise, their entire team goes first. All of them. So if you've got the drop, you can probably take out a few enemies first, which means you're going to take way less damage. It's going to be way easier. If you don't, you might lose an ally before you even start. So you want to work that way through. And then, once it actually comes to your turn, everyone can act at the same time. Not in a D&D, oh, everyone's technically acting at the same time sort of way, but in a very literal sense. The only exception to that is anytime you use an action, you resolve that before someone else starts doing things. But you can all move at the same time. You can use an action, then your friend can use an action, and then you can use a second action. Like, you can split up your turn in a much more tactical way, I think. So an example I have here, because you get 2 AP every turn, which is action points. I might rename that. So someone who's like built as a charger, right, detonates an explosive on a wall. That lets the runner through, who's got like really lightweight gear and is able to move faster, to tackle someone who's taken someone as a hostage. With the hostage secured, the guy with the explosives comes around to shoot an approaching person with a gun, and then the last person draws their SMG and watches the door for reinforcements using an Overwatch action. And so there's that flexibility. You add in more players and you've got way more flexibility, right? People can set each other up and things like that. Kappa says, I know this is designed to be a standard format TTRPG, but the way it's set up now, it could be a PvP/Team v Team style with the DM as the ref/overseer. That is true. So something like that could work. You'd have to be very much more careful about balance when that happens. That's the only problem. Balancing against enemies is way easier than balancing against other players, because it becomes like a combinatorial explosion essentially. I don't want to do that. So your equipment, because this is an equipment fantasy, whether you have that in your hand is important. So you have stowed, drawn, and readied. Stowed, it is essentially in a backpack. It is going to take a long time to get that. Readied, it's nearby. It's in a holster, for example, if it's a gun, or it's like strapped to your waist or something like that. You can grab that pretty quick. And drawn is literally in your hands. You're ready to go. You can put it back on a holster pretty quick. It takes time to put it in a bag. You can just drop it. What if I made it hellish? Right, I know, right? So let's go into how shooting works in this. You want to shoot someone, right? You got a weapon in your hand. You want to shoot someone. You choose a target whose location is known to you, and that's an important phrasing because you can shoot through walls in this game. Intentionally, and there is some equipment to let you see through walls, and things like that. Choose a target whose location is known to you. Roll the die associated with one of your weapons. And you know, you might have a weapon that's like an SMG that rolls multiple dice. And then work out the armor value of the target. And roll the dice. So, for example, if you've got an SMG, it might be 3d6. Okay, so you roll 3d6. Each die that scores 1 is a critical miss. Boop. Ignore that for now. Put it aside. Each die that scores less than or equal to the target's armor is a miss. So the target's armor might be 4, for example. So every 1, 2, 3, and 4 is a miss. Well, 1's a crit misses, but 2, 3, and 4 are misses. Put them aside. Each die that scores higher than the armor is a hit. And each die that scores the maximum possible value is a critical hit. Now, they don't explode here like they do in skill tests. So you just keep those as well. Obviously, if you have boons or malices is what I originally called. No, I started calling them malices instead of banes because boon and bane sound similar. So if someone's like talking quickly, they might say, "Oh, you got 2 boons and 1 bane," and you'd be like, "I got 2 boons and 1 boon." So I thought I'd make them a bit different so you could hear the difference. I actually am probably going to change this to subtract malices. Malices from boons. So, if you've got like 2 boons and a malice, there's no point in re-rolling all the time. That's going to slow things down, right? So what you've actually got is 1 boon. And that means you can re-roll one of your dice. For each miss, deal damage to the target's cover equal to the number on the die. And then get rid of it. Because the cover you're hiding behind can and will be destroyed quite a lot. This is something Draw Steel does well, and I think it's absolutely something that in a gunfight should be happening. If you look back to all of those Hollywood movies, someone's hiding behind something and there are holes getting blown in it as they're shooting, and then they have to dive away. By destroying cover, you're also forcing people to move. Moving around in combat makes it way more dynamic, makes it way more fun. The downside is that no one wants to track health of cover, right? So we have a thing for that. Don't worry, I'm getting there. For every hit and critical hit, deal the rolled number of damage to the target, subtracting the target's armor. That's where the subtraction comes in. Boons and a bitch you thought. Yeah, absolutely. So the downside here is there is some subtraction to happen, and it's the one bit I don't like, but it does feel more fun than every option I've tried. So if you got an armor target of 4, you roll a 5 and a 6 on a d6, for example, you're going to deal 1 point of damage on the on the 5, and on the 6, you're going to do 2 points of damage. Sorry, technically their armor value could be 6, in which case your critical hit is still going to do 1 point of damage. Just below 1 is what I should say here, because I think that's a little confusing. So a critical hit is always going to do damage, regardless. And then it'll have a critical effect. Those are just fun. We just love doing silly things when crits happen. Some of this has been taken also from Pathfinder. Some of it has been taken from video game design, and also a little bit from Kill Team as well, which does this a little bit. So we've got a lot of that sort of vibe. Actually, like 90% of this design came from my original RPG that I was working on called Era. Era had this idea of, it's where the boons and banes come from. It's where a bunch of the other bits come from, like the exploding dice and the weapon damage dice and all that. But it was a fantasy RPG, and I went, actually, this would probably just work better for guns. Let's try that. Let's try it. Ranges, we can ignore that for now. That's just specifying that. Unintended targets. Your shot can go wide. Every critical, the shot can have an unintended target. So you draw a line between yourself and the target. And any other target that is in the way between that. Even if there's walls of light, you shoot them, basically. Original XCOM rules. Yeah, basically. This I need to rewrite to make simpler and put a diagram in, but it does run relatively quickly, actually, to sort that out. Melee is a bit different. Melee I've mostly taken from Kill Team. So, when you get in a fight, this is where initiative breaks down a little bit. Instead, what's going to happen is a simultaneous back and forth fight, like you get in a movie. So you both will have a melee weapon. Might just be fists, which is melee 4. And you'll roll, so you'll roll 4d4s. And so you're both going up with fists. The attacker rolls 4d4s, the defender rolls 4d4s. The attacker starts and goes, I've got a 4 here, I'm going to resolve that one. That's a crit. My critical effect is parry, so I'm going to remove one of your hits. You've now got 3 hits. The other person is going to go, well, okay, I got a 3. I'll do 3 points of damage. And then the attacker goes like that. So it's a back and forth. But you also have environmental attacks where you are using whatever's around you to hurt someone, and that does more damage. It always does more damage because that's more interesting in a fight. Yeah, you discard critical misses, set aside critical hits, and then just deal the other damage. So a lot more damage is actually handed out in melee. It is more dangerous, though, because when you get in melee, you're going to get hit back. No matter what. But there are some major benefits, because you can't, like, take out a gun and shoot people in melee unless it's like a pistol or something like that. Yeah, it's Jackie Chan rules. Exactly. A lot of that is how Kill Team does melee combat, but it's also just a really good system. It's also a really good system, so I'm fucking taking it. I tried some other systems, and I just couldn't get it to be as enjoyable. The problem is you can't really do it with the same stuff as guns and have it be interesting without, like, doing shitloads of hits at the same time, and that was just slowing down combat. So the melee is a little different. I really like the environmental attack because the damage die depends on what's nearby. It forces you to interact with the map that you're on, and things like that. Nick going around being like, this is nice, I'll take it a go. I mean, every game designer does that. Like, ask 13th Age where they got the concept of minions from. And then ask Draw Steel where they got their concept of minions from. So then we have cover. These are modifiers. They add to your armor rating. Just a +1 or +2. Just because addition and subtraction is already happening there, so we may as well. And then they use HP threshold for how much health they've got. So you're never tracking health on them. So if someone's behind a wooden cabinet, for example, it has 6 health. If it doesn't take 6 damage from an attack, it has 6 health still. You hate that you're thinking of the wrong kind of minions? Terrible. You know, a couple of game scholars to try to reverse engineer this kind of thing? Oh, that's fair. I mean, I'm thrashing. I did have this idea of downgrading things. So basically, like, the first time something takes damage, it actually, what was previously like full cover becomes half cover, because I wanted to replicate that idea of punching holes in the cover and having that sort of apply there. But I think that's just, I don't know if I like it yet. I want to, that's something I'm going to be testing more. Then we have something everyone hates from Pathfinder, the idea of recoil. If you've got 2 actions each turn, minimum, you can actually have more. Emphasis. Typically, cover does not counterattack in melee. Every corner that ever stubbed a toe would like a word. Yeah, a lot of this has been sarcastically written as well, as I've been going through. So yeah, recoil, basically you've got 2 actions. If you shoot first turn, your second shot is going to be worse. Basically the rule is that every shot you fired is going to add a bane to your next attack. So if you have a semi-automatic pistol, which means you can shoot twice, you're going to do a shot turn 1, turn 2 you do action 1, a single shot. Action 2, you do a single shot with 1 Bane. If you've got an SMG, action 1, you do 3 shots. Action 2, you do 3 shots with 3 Banes. So the idea is the more accurate the weapon, the less of a problem you're getting a little bit. It's sort of a self-balancing thing because throwing more bullets down the field is a good way to handle getting Banes in general. If you've got a gun that shoots 6 shots in an action and you get 1 Bane, you're forced to reroll only 1 of your dice. If you have a sniper rifle that does 1 shot and you've got a Bane, that's a big fucking problem. You know? But that, I think, also kind of works. Like, the snipers should be getting in a proper position and making sure they've got all the benefits, right? Because if they get a boon, if they get they get a plus to it, right? That's going to be a huge benefit, whereas the person with the big machine gun, they get a plus. It's only really going to reroll 1 of their attacks. Maybe write a cover reduction as a modifier for big difficult encounters or for more advanced gameplay, like an annex of house rule modifiers. That could work. I do have something similar coming up in my ideas, which might work as well. Yeah. The only difference, if it's burst fire, it counts as 1 shot. So if you've got like an assault rifle that does 3 shot burst, that counts as you've shot once. That just sort of sets them apart a little bit. Health. This is a bit different. It's sort of Lancer style. So you don't have much health in Breach. You'll have like 10 health, okay? And guns are doing like, an assault rifle might be doing 4d6 shots. Which could be doing 6 damage in 1 action, right? So that's a problem for you as a breach operative, right? When you hit 0, you gain an injury. A wound. Sorry, you gain a wound. No, it's wound or injury. I think I've named it several things all the way through and I've gone back and forth on it. It's a wound. Okay. So you gain a wound. And then your hit points are restored to full. Now, the wound does not apply in that combat. And the reason it doesn't apply in that combat in game reason is you're high on adrenaline. The wound. Thank you, Emphas. You're high on adrenaline, you don't notice it, okay? It applies after the combat encounter. So when the combat ends, you go, oh shit, I've been shot. Which is a classic movie situation. You go, oh fuck, I've been hit, right? Every movie has that, So we're able to bring that in. For a game design reason, it's because we really don't want a fucking doom spiral. If you're halfway through a combat encounter that's going badly for you and you take an injury, if that injury applies immediately, you are in an even worse position, right? So we don't want to doom spiral it, but there just happens to be a really good in-universe or in-media justification for it. So you then get stacking wounds. So each of your ability scores can take wounds, up to 3. So the first one is you'll have a Malice / Bane, which again I keep changing it up as I write, to any checks involving that. So that's things like skill checks and things like that. So you'll have one Bane. Second time, your movement speed is reduced to 3 inches. It is normally 5 inches. So it's reduced by 2 inches. I'm using inches at the moment because I'm unsure whether I want to use squares or anything like that. I will replace that in the end with whatever it comes out to be. Imagine an inch is 5 feet in game. So it's a square on a grid. Your movement speed is 3. The third wound, your movement speed is 0. But you can use the sprint action. Sprint action adds 2 inches to your movement. So you can have up to 2. So that's, if you've had 3 leg wounds, that's a real problem. The 4th one kills you. You roll these when you get hit. You don't roll them at the end of the combat. So if you get enough to kill you, you know that you are going to die. Which lets you do a fucking heroic end. Which I think... I'm not gonna lie. I think this is fucking excellent. This is one of the bits that I am most pleased with. Is... No one likes dying in a game, but dying knowing you can go out being a goddamn hero is superb. Boon and Burden is good. I love that. Boon and Burden is good. Note. Turn Bane / Malice into Burden. I like that a lot. Yeah, because everyone wants to do the Boromir like last stand, right? So arm wounds, again, the first wound in each area is a malice to checks using that. Second wound, you can only use one-handed equipment on your arms. So if you've got a two-handed weapon, you better swap to like a pistol or a knife. Third wound, you have a bane to all shooting and fighting. You don't want that one. Chest wound, again, malice on the first one. Second wound, your HP maximum is reduced by 1. And the third wound, your HP maximum is reduced again by 1, which is, again, a big problem. Last one, head wound, malice first. You always go at the end of your team's turn. So you no longer interleave your actions with everyone else. You always take your action at the end. And then the third wound is you get 1 less action point. So again, these things are pretty hefty hits. You don't want these, but there are also a way to suppress them. There are items you can take, because again, this is an equipment fantasy, that can either remove or temporarily suppress these injury effects. So you might have an item that you can take that is like a health kit that removes 1 injury, like permanently removes it, so you don't have to worry about it. Or you can have an injection of adrenaline that will suppress the effects of all of the injuries you've got. And let's just change this to wounds, because I'm saying it everywhere else. Or you can have an injection of adrenaline that's going to suppress all the effects, so you are not affected by it, but they're still there. So if you've got like 3 chest wounds and 2 arm wounds, you take the adrenaline, you're not affected by the chest wounds or the arm wounds, but if you get 1 more chest wound, you will die at the end of the encounter. Daggerheart does something similar. Yeah, it's something a few games do, the idea of being doomed and knowing you're going to die. Yeah. So the benefit of this version is your health drops to 0 a lot. Your health could drop to 0 up to 12 times before you die. But each time your health drops to 0, you go, oh shit, what is going to happen to me? And that is something I love about Lancer. Lancer has that. When your health points drop to 0, you gain a negative effect, like a weapon is blown off or something like that. And then you get your health comes back to full. And then you can repair it later, gradually. I just think that's a great design, honestly, because you get the fear of your health dropping to 0 quickly, but realistically, your health is like 4 or 5 times larger than it looks. So it's not as dangerous as it sounds. Sorry, my voice is just completely cracking up at the moment. Hold on a sec. Hold on. I'm going to probably clear my throat. I'm going to mute. I muted the wrong thing. Hold on. Oh, no. Hang on. There we go. It might do it again, but it's the best I can do. And the other thing is, these all heal automatically at the end of the mission, which can be made up of multiple combat encounters. So then we have some common actions. Swap, which is to grab an item that you've got stowed and all that. The reason I have that costing an action is because I really want to incentivize you picking up another gun. And there are a few other things we've got that incentivize that, but we're just putting that in everywhere. You can move, that's fine. You can grab people, whatever. retreat from melee, do the shootings. You can do an Overwatch, which is where you like designate a 90-degree arc, and you can shoot people who move through there because then they're out of cover, right? It's a really good way to lock someone down. Really helpful. One really cool one you could do is have one person Overwatch, another person tosses a stun grenade or something. Wonderful. Hit the deck is a reaction you can take if you're to reduce damage coming in. You can only do it once. But it means you're more vulnerable in melee, so you want to be careful. You can do covering fire if you've got an automatic weapon, but it's like an Overwatch, except you are going to hurt anyone who moves in that space. So it may attack allies, but it could also attack every enemy. And also designate, which a lot of games have, but is more important in this one. So a lot of games have an action to like point out an invisible person. Draw Steel has it, Pathfinder has it. In this, you are often shooting through walls and all that, and you just have to know the location. So designate lets someone point to, for example, the sniper, who might have an armor-piercing weapon, like a high-damage, high-caliber sniper rifle, and point out where the person that they need taken out is for 1 AP, and then the sniper can still shoot him. And then like doing actions and that's something, because I still want interpretive gameplay to happen as well. Then I'm thinking of using something like the tension die. So the tension die is something I first saw in the Stargate TTRPG. It's a nice idea. It's a little bit like the escalation die from 13th Age, except it is static, set at the beginning of the mission. And the die kind of determines how fucking bad things are going to be. So you're told immediately what the tension die is. And in Stargate TTRPG, you then add that to a bunch of your ability rolls. So if you're the medic, for example, and you're trying to heal someone, you will roll the tension die and add that to your ability. So that means on like low tension missions, like clip show episodes, essentially, your healing's actually not going to do that much. But when it matters properly, when character death is on the line, your healing is way better. And I really like that approach. I've changed it, and I've sort of mashed it up a little bit with Draw Steel's Malice to get something that's a bit different. So you start with something called a tension pool. It's a bowl of tension dice that you can call on later on. Starts at 1 die, and it'll persist until the end of the mission. If you fail a check during the approach phase, a default complication, like you're meant to just come up with some complications based on the narrative, but a default complication is you add a tension die to the pool, and the pool gets bigger. So you have basics of D4, D6, and D8. D4 is regular stuff. D6 this is where the action movie stuff starts to come in, and D8 is Die Hard, right? However, the tension die can change depending on what is happening. So, for example, a common trope in action movies is it is a routine call out that turns out to be something significantly worse. I suppose the most clear-cut example of that is Die Hard, where it would be a tension 0, really, event. It was a Christmas party. And it suddenly becomes a D8 when the terrorists arrive and take everyone hostage. Actually, it probably becomes a D6 when the terrorists arrive and take everyone hostage. It becomes a D8 when John McClane learns the terrorists plan to blow the building up and kill everyone. They're not planning to get out and keep the hostages alive. And when that happens, the GM tells you that the tension has increased, and any future tension die are going to be larger. We then have something Oh, it becomes a D8 when the FBI arrive and totally fuck it up. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's when it becomes the D8, does it? Yeah. So during the approach, though, it is recommended that the GM come up with things that are only available at certain tension, right? So, and that is based on how many dice are in the pool. So an example would be like going through the front door during a bank robbery is probably not available when there's like, say, 4 or more tension dice. So at that point, you've made 4 mistakes or events have transpired in such a way that tension is rising. In the example here, cops are on the scene, the hostiles are on high alert, so they're looking at the door. So you can't get in that way. You're going to need a different way in. But because tension is higher, you can possibly use the cops as a distraction. All eyes are now on the front door, so maybe you can breach a side wall. Similarly, as I say, low tension, use of hostile force might be unjustified. So you need to take a quieter approach. So this is a really good way of like encouraging the players to be professional until shit hits the fan, essentially, which is the kind of trope you want to go with. You're having a relatively normal time and then shit hits the fan. Don't go in guns blazing just yet. This could be something you can resolve peacefully until it is. But also, like, the players can still choose to do it. It's just there'll probably be a complication to doing that, right? Like me saying, oh, the tension is too high for you to use the front door. What I'm saying really is the tension is too high for you to use the front door without getting shot. You can still do it. You're wearing armor. You can give it a go. I'm just going to shoot you. I'm not going to stop you, but I am going to shoot you. And then when you get into combat, it becomes a pool of tension that you can use to add complications to this scene. So this is one bit that I need a lot more content for. I need to come up with more. I want to have a lot more options, sort of based on environments, based on sort of types of mission and that sort of thing. Like there are some common ones, like you suddenly run out of ammo. Or your weapon is jammed, so you're gonna have to swap to another weapon or try to unjam it, or reload it, and things like that. Or you start a new major complication that needs to be dealt with that's suddenly happening. An example is a bullet grazes a propane canister, and so everyone hears the hiss, and that sort of things, and so suddenly you've got a timer to deal with before that thing explodes, right? Or you've got to take cover and get away from it, things like that. And there are some good ones that you can hand out to enemies. They get a burst of speed, and things like that. But this is the sort of movie shit that happens in the middle of a fight, right? I want people to be able to do that. I want people to be able to do the movie shit. I don't want this to be too cumbersome, too painful. I want it to be focused on drama more than anything. And that is something that's going to, I think, shake out in testing as to whether this is going to work or not. I think it will. Malice works in Draw Steel really well. And this is sort of like that, sort of mixing in a little bit of lair actions from D&D, things like that. So it might be okay. And I like the idea of sort of designing them based on, objective, location, things that can go wrong with equipment, comms, collateral, and that sort of thing. So I'm unsure on it, but I do like it. I like it at the moment, but I don't know if it's a darling I need to kill. Finally, an interactive version of Rocky 7, Adrian's Revenge. I don't even know if that's real or not. There have certainly been more than 7 Rocky movies, so it might be. Hey, I'll welcome in. And then, you level up. That's fine. So, I got some moves at the moment, not many. Everyone, I know what you're going to say. I know. So these are things you can do outside of the combat side. So, for example, you conveniently happen to know someone who's an expert in exactly what you need. That happens all the time in movies. I want these to be movie tropes as best I can. Or things that are cool to do, right? Like, someone could just go, I know a guy. You know? I know someone who knows about drugs, antique porcelain, or whatever it is. Bruce's tropes? Ew. You happen to have an in with the locals. If you're going to, I don't know, if you happen to be going to a different country, you happen to be a good study of the language and cultural traditions, and so you're not going to have any friction there. It could be more like a local area, like in New York. Maybe you're going to a section of the town, and you're just, you're not going to put your foot in your mouth. So you're going to have a benefit to talking to civilians and getting information from them. You just gain another skill. Sure. I that's the least interesting, and I might take it away. The Daniel Jackson character, exactly. I was thinking that. I was thinking also, who's the one who's, in buddy cop comedy, there's always one person who's out of their depth and one person who kind of knows the locals. And often that flips around sometimes in sequels, like Rush Hour, for example. The fish out of water is Jackie Chan. The guy who knows the locals is, was it Chris Tucker? I think it was Chris Tucker. Chris Rock. It was a Chris. Chris Rock, right. Who's Chris Tucker? I gotta look that up. Hold on. Chris Tucker is a stand-up comedian. Oh, stand-up comedian. Oh no, he's been in movies as well. No, that's Chris Tucker is the one from Rush Hour. Fuck you all. I've just looked it up. Chris Tucker is the one from Rush Hour. Chris Rock is Donkey. Right? Chris Rock was in Lethal Weapon 4. Oh, Chris Rock was in Beverly Hills Cop 2. So, a little bit. I don't know if Chris Rock's actually been in any buddy cop comedies, like, starring in them, though. Like Madagascar and all that, obviously. Eddie Murphy was Donkey. Eddie Murphy was Donkey? Damn. Oh, right. Yeah, no, I was thinking of Madagascar, where he's, I want to say he is a zebra? Is he a zebra? What, it was like a lion, was it? A giraffe, a zebra, and a hippo, right? Jada Pinkett Smith was the hippo. David Schwimmer was the giraffe. And then it was who was the lion and who was the zebra. I can't remember. Yeah, can't remember. But yeah, Chris Tucker was Rush Hour. Anyway, that's what I was looking up. Chris Tucker was Rush Hour. So that sort of vibe. Acrobat. Taking the wording here from Blaze in the Dark, but you can just do something that is kind of absurd, but you would find in an action movie, right? So obviously you can do like, parkour checks to do that normally. But if you want to make sure you can do it, guaranteed, take the acrobat move. And like, once each mission, you can just do something without having to do a check. And yeah, the one I know you're all going to mention, Heavy Packer. Your gear bag is the thing you're going to use, you're going to store equipment in that's too bulky to just have on you. It's not usable really during a combat, because it takes too long to get stuff out. You can do it, but it's going to take a long time. It's going to take an entire round to get something out of the bag. So if you really need to, you can. But in general, you're going to want to sort of prepare it beforehand. But the stuff in your bag can be used during the approach section. That's where you're going to have all your equipment that's good for that. Things like zip lines, things like, breaching tools, door breaching tools, explosives, and things like that, you know? You suggest Expert Tucker as an alternative. You mean Chris Tucker? Eye in the sky is you got like a drone or a helicopter or something like that. Or a satellite. But you can work out where people are outdoors, which is a really good thing for the approach of getting around and you know, avoiding ambushes and things like that. Then we got talents. This is the same as moves, but they're designed for combat. Choose one piece of equipment. You always have it with you when you choose your loadout. It costs one less bulk. So bulk is how we handle equipment in this. So you're not like, oh, this is 180 pounds. It's bulk. Bulk is, I think, the only good way to do encumbrance systems. Pathfinder does it that way. I think a bunch of games do it that way. If you have to do encumbrance, bulk is the way to do it. Words Without Number uses bulk as well. Lamau Heavy Packer was Overpacker not an option. It wasn't as soon as I thought of the phrase Heavy Packer, Kappa. That's when it ceased to be an option. But yeah, this basically it's a signature, so you can take it and it weighs less. So you might have like a signature weapon that you always use. Like a, assault rifle that you've named, for example, or whatever. And it's going to cost you less to take it with you. Flying tackle, similar to Heavy Packer. You flying kick right into someone. Make a hands check contested by their legs. Success, you knock them to the ground. Failure, you hit the ground. Which is nice enough. The failure is a problem because you're next to them. The success is good because you can then fight them with a boon. So that's reasonably powerful. Bull rush, run towards them, push them back. You can push them out windows and things like that. Catching your hands. Yeah, exactly. This one's upgradable if you want to take it a second time, but yeah. I don't like feat trees. I don't mind an upgradable feat. It's a little easier. Smooth operator. That's good. Yeah. Eye of the Tiger. If you're looking for hidden people, you can gain a boon on that. Nice and easy. Iron Hands, your second shooting action ignores one of the banes from recoil, so you're really good at steadying a weapon. Fast Fighter, you make one extra attack with each weapon when you're attacking. That can be great. Fan the Hammer, semi-automatic weapons are now burst fire for you. So you're doing more shots with pistols. So if you really want to be like really cool with pistols, you're now doing a lot of shots with them. This is for people who want to do both shooting and melee. Skirmisher, somebody tell Tom Bloom that I've used Skirmisher in a TTRPG, which is presumably gimmick infringement, as I think like 9 things in Lancer are called Skirmisher or a synonym of Skirmisher. But yeah, if you shoot someone, your melee attack against them has a boon until the end of your turn. So if you have 2 actions, action 1 is shoot, action 2 is punch. Good work, basically. It is a fun word. You can discard one of your hits to discard one of your opponent's hits, so you're on the defensive, which is helpful if you want to do a lot of melee and don't want to get hurt a lot. NCO is neat. For 1 AP, you can give another operative an extra AP. So you spend 1, they gain an additional 1. So that's really good for objective-based stuff. If someone needs to get to an objective and they've run over them, maybe they're nearby, but they haven't got enough AP left to actually do anything, you can give them an AP. Very good for if you're like a commander or something like that in the battlefield. Sweep the leg, classic. When you're fighting, you can knock them prone midway through. Gun cutter was extremely cool, Al. You're damn right. Like the druid in TBW. Total Biscuit World. That would be weird. Tactical Breach Wizards. I've even played and completed that recently, and I couldn't get it. Yeah, a little bit actually. Yeah, a little bit like that. Biscuit. Then this is just explaining bulk. We don't have to worry about it too much. You can take no armor if you want, but that's very silly. Don't do it. You can take light armor. This is good for if you want to have a lot of gear. So the idea is, if you're in heavy armor, you get less gear. But you get more. You have a higher armor value. You have slightly more health. And you kind of otherwise shit out of luck though. So like with this, you got two pockets and back. So you can take a heavy weapon and maybe 2 grenades. That's it. Whereas the person in light has a weapon, 3 additional weapons, and 2 pockets. So these are additional holsters. So they can take 2 grenades, 2 pistols, a knife, and an assault rifle. Consider a special ability for wearing no armor. Honestly, yeah, that could work. Like maybe you're extra fast or something because you're unencumbered. I think this is basically the same. You do get slightly more, but yeah. Have a good rest, Hugs. Have a great Easter as well. I hope Jesus dies this time. Obviously, the numbers aren't final. And that's what playtesting is for. You blend in better in the approach. That's a possibility as well. I mean, that could be 2 different talents. Because you get a talent every level, I think. It might be every other level. It might be you get a talent on odd levels and a move on even levels or something like that. Bags. This is just like the stuff for your approach. It's just, here's a backpack or a duffel bag. As I say, it's full of sarcastic text. Then a couple of common keywords that you get with weapons. I'm unsure if I'll use keywords. I don't like keywords in general. I'm more of a collocate your data sort of guy. But it does mean you can scan them easily once you know them. So it's give or take, really. But these are the definitions at the moment. In the end, I'd probably make like cards or something for each weapon. But that's just how I've written them at the moment. Knives are one-handed melee weapons. They are a D4 to attack because they're melee. Melee is the only thing that goes D4. Just because numbers are funky in this dice system with D4s, to the extent that a D4 is actually more likely to do more damage than a D6 in many circumstances, which is weird because a D4 crits 25% of the time and the crit can't be reduced below 1. So if you're fighting someone with 6 armor, a D4 weapon is going to do more damage. So that's why it's restricted to melee, because otherwise the numbers get fucky. So yeah, it's a D4 weapon. On a crit, it does bleed. So you just take 1 damage into the end at the end of your turn, every turn until you're bandaged. And you can do an upgraded item. So this is for like when you get special equipment. Specialist equipment is a reward for completing a mission and things like that. You can take an upgrade to knives so that they do bleed too. So you're doing a lot of damage to a lot of enemies. Pistols, they're one-handed. They are agile, which means that they can be fired in melee. Just like Gun Carter, for example. So if you've got a pistol and you're in a melee, someone's next to you, you can still shoot them. These are semi-automatic. Semi-automatic just means you shoot once for 1 AP, and then you can shoot again for 1 AP. it's only really there to differentiate from shotguns and sniper rifles, which are single shot, where if you shoot on your turn, you cannot shoot again on your turn. Most weapons are not that. It's just mainly the sniper rifle and the shotgun. Though I think there is I do have a rare piece of equipment for the shotgun, which is effectively a semi-automatic shotgun, because they exist, so you may as well be able to take one, right? But the sort of the base one is like it's a full pump action sort of vibe, which you can shoot pretty fast if you want to do it right, but it would be deeply unbalanced. D4 more like deforced D's nuts. Incredible. You'll see yourself out. No, this is the energy we need for this. Oh yeah, or you're lucky and you can like negate one point of damage. Those three are all very good talent ideas. Yeah. So their crit is weak point, which does extra damage. So the idea is that with a pistol, you're aiming at the head or something like that. You're just going to do additional damage. And you can take a high caliber pistol, a D8 weapon. So this is like a .45 Magnum. .451, I think, caliber Magnum. That sort of thing, you know? A real proper hand cannon. We can ignore all this stuff. That was stuff before I knew what I wanted to do for steady stowing and all that. There was way too much detail on holsters and such like that. And I was looking at it and I was like, this is just not fun. SMGs are spray 1d6. That doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does. Okay. So they're a one-handed weapon. Obviously, they're agile, so you can use them in close combat. Spray 1d6 means that when you roll your attack, you roll your d6, and that is going to be applied against everyone in a cone in front of you. You roll it once, so you can either miss everyone or hit everyone. Do you roll it once? No, you're going to roll 1d6 per target. I prefer that. You roll 1d6 per target. Because that way... Otherwise, boons are going to be really powerful on an SMG. If you've got one boon on a spray 1d6 weapon, you can reroll the whole thing and potentially hit everyone. Otherwise, it's too swingy. Hitting 2 people with an SMG and 3 people survive, that is more realistically sounding to me. And it doesn't have to be realistic. It just has to sound or feel it. Remember, we are going action movie. We're not going realism. On a crit, they are accurate, so you get to reroll one of your misses. If you gain a crit, you reroll a miss. If you gain 4 crits, you can reroll 4 misses. And again, we can ignore that stuff. With an upgrade, you get a little folding stock thing, which lets you reroll a miss as well, more often, because you know it's steadier. Shotguns are fucking broken. They're 2-handed weapons though, so you can only take one of them. They're spray 3d6. So for every enemy in a cone, you're going to roll 3d6. So you can put out a lot of damage, but they are single shot weapons, so they can't shoot more than once around. They're d6 as well. Their crit is stun. So if you get a crit against someone, their AP is reduced by 1. Unlike all others, that does not stack. Otherwise, they'd be fucked. You can take slugs instead. They lose the spray ability. They become single shot. They still do just d6. I was going to have them do more damage, but there's actually a huge benefit to losing the spray tag a lot of the time, and that is hostages and civilians and allies, because all of these spray weapons target everyone in the cone. Special catbat modifier, shotgun is a long range weapon if you want it to be. There's no range keyword on this, so yes, it already is. And the upgrade that you can get on this one is it's a drum magazine. It becomes a semi, so you can shoot it twice if you want. Hell yeah. Yep. There are some that have range modifiers, not many of them. I've kind of left it off most of the time because I don't think it's that fun. And 90% of the time you're in tight spaces anyway. Assault rifles, they're two-handed. They have something called profile, which means you can choose what kind of shooting you're doing. So you can do an auto shot, a semi-automatic, so single shot, 4 shots, or a 3-shot burst. Their crit is again accurate, reroll a miss. Upgrade is the tactical rail, which lets them put 2 attachments on it, and a scope. Because, you know, again, it's equipment fantasy. Normally you can put 1 attachment on a weapon. Usually it's a scope or something like that. This can do 2 attachments and a scope, because assault rifles are built like that, right? They have these modular attachment systems. LMG, light machine gun, big 2-handed weapon. It's heavy. Heavy means that you cannot move in the same turn that you fire it. No, heavy is you gain a malus to every shot when you fire it. So it's a 5-shot thing. With heavy, you have 5 malices when you fire it. 5 burdens, sorry, when you fire it. But it usually comes with a bipod or a tripod. You set that up, it costs an AP to do that, and it is no longer heavy. So if you get to a place, you set it up, then you can fire without having those negatives. But it is 5d10, so it's a pretty spicy weapon. It's also got AP1, which means you subtract 1 from the armor of what you're targeting. So it's easier to hurt them as well. In my testing, hilariously, this was less powerful than a assault rifle or an SMG. So I've actually had to buff it. It was originally D8s. It needed to be D10s. On a crit, break cover. Crits deal their damage to cover as well. So normally it's only misses deal damage to cover. Now when you do a crit, you also deal damage to cover for the crit. So you're more likely to break whatever they're hiding behind if you're using an LMG. You get a special ability if you upgrade. It's called Lead Storm. It's like Overwatch, but you must attack all enemies who move or act within the cone. Which actually I think has become a normal ability you can do, so I might change that out. Just shreds, you say? Yeah. You just absolutely shred the environment around you. Then you got sniper rifles. They're single shot. They've got AP2, so they're really good at penetrating walls and people. They're a D12 weapon, so that they have the highest amount of damage. Their crit is a cooled shot. You can choose a condition to apply. Bleed, we've already seen on the knives. Breaking an arm or a leg means that you do the equivalent of 2 wounds to that area of the enemy. So they become one-handed weapons only, or their movement speed is reduced to 2 inches. Or headshot is it does 4 additional damage. So that would be doing 16 damage in 1 shot, which you might need to do. They get a special action where you can aim and line up the shot, gain 2 boons on your next shooting attack. These have a minimum range, so you must shoot beyond 6 inches. Oh no, you not must. You can shoot below that, but you've got a malice or a bane or a burden. And you can take a dual scope, which reduces the malice. You still can't aim under that distance, but it removes the malice. So the dual scope is one where you swap between like maybe 8x magnification and 1x, that sort of thing. And then the last one, the anti-material rifle. This hurts. It's got AP6, so it'll instantly evaporate people. Basically. This is a D20 weapon. It does a huge amount of damage. It will destroy arms, legs, or emplacements. It is designed to take out turrets, vehicles, and things like that. This I need to change because I used to have over penetration as a mechanic. So we have the sort of stray things. It used to be over pen, where if your attack was higher than, I think it was 2 plus the If you did more than 2 damage, basically, your shot could go through and hurt someone else. Bruce is a war crime to use against people, but presumably most of the time the PCs aren't involved in a war. That's why it says rules of engagement and not that it's a war crime. I originally had this idea of rules of engagement, which would be additional conditions imposed on the mission. And then after the mission is done, you'd get chewed out by this like cigar chomping police chief kind of person who's like, it's my ass on the line when you all fuck up, and that sort of nonsense that you always get, you know, in the buddy cop comedies and all that. I want your badge, I want your gun, you're off the force, that sort of thing. But I couldn't make it satisfy, right? It just felt like adding restrictions that weren't fun, or they felt arbitrary. So this is merely flavor at this point. I'll need to do a new upgrade for the anti-material rifle. It might be that there's no upgrade for the anti-material rifle. If you're taking that constantly, there's something wrong with you. Yeah, there's just something wrong with you. I've noticed with AP6 with the armor values, it's an automatic hit on any enemy, so I might need to change that because that's a bit broken. That was before I changed. Previously, the armor could go up to like 30. And so AP6 made it more likely that you'd actually hit people. But that's just not the case anymore. Grenade launchers, of course. Basically, it lets you launch a grenade a fair distance. You choose your grenades and you put them in each slot during loadout. We got Vancian grenades here. But you can then choose a grenade by spinning the barrel, but it costs you an AP. To do that. Otherwise, you just go thump, and we'll see what happens. Grenades always explode at the start of the team's next turn. So you got flash, smoke, tear, frag, and anti-tank. I'm not sure about anti-tank, to be honest. We might not need it. And then various like weapon mods that you can add. These are like rare equipment and things like that. And some utility stuff you can take as well. But yeah, that's like the combat section is just all of this. And then this is me just going through the numbers and trying to make sure things are sort of roughly in line with what I'm aiming for. You know, somewhere someone is already planning to use an AMR on an Instacart driver who got firm tofu instead of extra firm tofu. Oh, absolutely. But yeah, that's everything I've made on this so far, and it's 11,000 words of design, and I am at the point now where I'm regularly testing it myself, just in little like internal games with myself, and that's it. Tweaking the numbers. I'm now at the point where I just need to write more content, and then it is ready to playtest with others, which is kind of wild to me, honestly, considering how long I've been working on this. Like, I used to be writing this stuff in a thread on Discord that I think only me and Keith were looking at, which was Nick Design's 6th edition D&D, back when it was the Era RPG, as it was called. And it was, it was a sword and sorcery sort of style thing with the idea that, you had things like the rule break and things like that. You didn't even know it existed. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of threads people don't know exist. They turn up and then they vanish because so many people are talking quickly. I think it's still in there. I think it's under tabletop or something. I don't think it's been used in a long time, though. But yeah. Oh, Nick Designs D&D 70. There we go. Yeah, it's just me and Keith. Oh no, Aeon's in there. There's some neat ideas. and some bad ideas. But, you know, it was neat. Anyway, it's almost like 11. I've been talking non-stop for 3.5 hours, which is probably why my voice is cracking up. So I think we're going to stop there. But this has been nice. It's been nice to do some more TTRPG stuff. This stuff came around mainly because I did some polls recently with the supporters. And I was surprised to see how important TTRPG stuff was. Like, TTRPG stuff on my channel does not get the viewership compared to the gaming stuff, which is fine. I don't mind that. But when it came to the poll, people were like, yeah, actually, the people who pay money are much more into the tabletop side of things than I'd thought. And actually, people are way less into the videos than I thought. So that was interesting to see. So I wanted to do a bit more tabletop stuff because I've been sitting there going, oh, you know, I could do another stream back where back in the old days where I would do D&D prep on stream and things like that and just chat about it. But, you know, I just assumed people weren't interested. So I was like, and no one wants to do it's fine doing a gaming stream to no one. That is easier because you've got external input from the game, right? You have nothing when you're doing a TTRPG prep stream to no one. It's so much harder because 90% of what you want to do with TTRPG prep is bounce ideas off people, and if there's no one there, there's no one to bounce them off of. So yeah, it's been quite. I've been quite pleased to see people actually have enjoyed that section of it, and not even just like. So obviously this is the TTRPG discussion streams, but like people have been enjoying the TTRPG games as well, which I've mainly just been doing for my own fun, really. But yeah, people have been enjoying that more than I thought, which is nice. It also means I can take a break from video editing sometimes, which, oh my god. I've done so much video editing, a break is needed. Sometimes, yeah. But yeah, we're gonna stop here, I think. I will probably stream tomorrow. I don't know what yet. Obviously, I previously had plans for this stream was going to be Guild of Icons. And tomorrow I was going to be doing EDF with Talia, with Iris. But those plans have been like put on hiatus a little bit, so I don't know what I'll do tomorrow. I have been given closed beta or closed alpha access to Deep Rock Galactic Rogue Core, which is effectively Deep Rock Galactic 2. The problem I'm finding is it's obviously designed around having friends play, just like Deep Rock Galactic is, and I don't know anyone at all who has access to this. On the other hand, you know, I was enjoying it single player, so maybe I'll do some of that. But I got other options as well. We can always do some more Persona. I want to get to the point in Persona where I know when I'm going to be grinding so I can do the grinding off screen. Like, we've just got a Mementos, which is the sort of giant mega dungeon that you do your grinding in, but that was part of the story, and I feel like we're getting to the end of the major tutorialization section of Persona, because it takes a long time to do that in their games, to where I will know when I'm going to be grinding as opposed to being just told it's happening and being sent there. Because, I don't know, grinding in Persona is fun. It's not fun to watch, comparatively. And if I stream all of the grind I do in Persona, I'm never finishing the game. It will take forever. It will take absolutely ages. Whereas if I stream only the fun bits, the story bits, the character interactions, then we can get through that at a reasonable pace. And it's not going to be like 200 streams. So yeah, maybe some Persona. I got some other games I've been playing recently as well that I might show off a little bit. And again, I've got a few more keys to play, so we'll just see what I'm fancying tomorrow. But yeah, something probably, especially now I'm finished with my D&D prep, which is great. Yeah. I've also got to finish Polyamory, but at the moment I'm too ill. I want to have the proper energy to finish Polyamory. I really want to have that like manic energy going to finish that, because I don't want to do like a manic first half and then just a really dull second half. But I need to sleep. I need to sleep better. Yeah. Tomorrow though I will do the monthly update. We haven't hit the funding goal this month, so no Super Battle Golf, but we do have a backlog of funding goals. Maybe I'll do one of the funding goals. Yeah, maybe I'll do one of the funding goals. That I haven't done yet, so that'd be good. You sleep more or sleep less if you want some Polyamory Mania. that's the key. Yeah, like what was Baldur's Gate where Lee and I just went mad. Just went absolutely mad. That was good. That was good fun. Bruce's if you like Persona, I have a recommendation. I almost said Monster Prom for a second. Demon School. It looks good, but I don't know if I'll enjoy it as much. Having like seen most of the plot. I've managed to avoid all of the plot for Persona 5, for example, so it's all happening fresh to me. Like I knew the character was named Joker. I knew that there was a cat, and that's it. Fair, it doesn't have the time management aspect. I would miss that. I like that a lot. I think it's a real enhancement for me when I'm playing the time management side of it. I totally understand why you don't like it, but I really like it. I would never replay one of these anyway, either, though. But I said it before in your stream. I'm big on the fact that because you can't do it all, what you are getting is a slightly more personalized story to you. It's not 100% personalized, but it's like these were what your priorities were in character, which I find interesting and sort of meaningful in a way. So there are a lot of games with like those paths where I'll do that story-wise and then never play it again and go, that was my path. Baldur's Gate, ideally I would do, but I keep getting dragged back to playing that for some reason. And that reason is I text Lee and go, hey, you want to play Baldur's Gate? It's entirely my fault. But yeah, ideally I would play that once, and the thing that happened is my story, and then I'd be like, oh, that happened to you? That's so cool, right? That's that to me is the ideal gameplay progress. The thing is, you can get a perfect game. If it was impossible, you wouldn't care. Yeah, that's fair. I don't like that so much. I would rather it was impossible. But then that's what games like RimWorld and all that are like. You're not going to get every event in RimWorld or Slay the Spire or things like that. So I suppose you can go that way. Anyway, I was meant to stop and I continued nattering. So yeah, tomorrow we'll do something. I might do one of the monthly funding goals that are sort of ganging up on me at the moment. Maybe we'll do marbles if I've got the energy. If not, Tomato Way could be a good one to try out. There's plenty of options. Yeah, have a good night, and thank you everyone who's been watching me just natter about TTRPGs and their design and things like that. You now know possibly more about Breach RPG than anyone else, including myself. So don't steal it, or if you do, at least invite me to a game so I can play it. Actually, that would be the ideal. Steal it, please. Write it, and then let me play it so I don't have to write it myself. That would be awesome. Do that. A nice relaxing Alien Isolation stream. That is coming. It's gonna have to happen. Actually, I think I have a list where I've written them all down. But yeah. Let's just double check if there's anyone on the raid. No, there is not. So we are going to end out there. Good night all.